Book 13. Book 13 of the Iliad. Poseidon helps the Athenians with the feats of Idomeneus, Hector, at the ships. Now, when Zeus had thus brought Hector and the Trojans to the ships, he let them to their never-ending toil, and turned his keen eyes away, looking elsewhither towards the horse-breeders of Thrace, the Lycian strikers at close quarters, the noble Hippomolchi, who live on milk, and Athenians, justice of mankind. He no longer turned so much as a glance towards Troy, for he did not think that any of the mortals would go to help either Trojans or Danaans. But King Poseidon had kept an overlying lookout. He had been looking admiringly on the battle from his seat on the topmost crest of the wooded Symmetris, whence he could see all Ida with the city of Priam and the ships of the Phrygians. He had come from under the sea and taken his place here, for he pitied the Phrygians, who were being overcome by the Trojans, and he was furiously angry with Zeus. Presently he came down from his post on the mountaintop, and as he strode swiftly onwards, the high hills and the forest quaked beneath the tread of his immortal feet. 3 strides he took, and with the 4th he reached his vault. Iliad, there is his glittering golden palace, imperishable in the depths of the sea. When he got there, he yoked his fleet brazen-footed steeds, with their manes and gold all flying in the wind. He clothed himself in raiment of gold, grasped his gold whip, and took his strand upon his chariot. As he went his way over the waves, the sea monsters left their lairs, for they knew their lord, and came gambolling round him from every quarter of the deep, while the sea in her gladness opened a path before his chariot. So lightly did the horses fly that the bronze axle of the car was not even wet beneath it, and thus his bounding steeds took him to the ships of the Athenians. Now there was a certain huge cavern in the depths of the sea, midway between Tenebris and rocky Icarus. Here Poseidon warned the earthquake, sent his horses coming to them, and set before them their adverbial forage. He hobbled their feet with hobbles of gold, which now could either unloose or break, so that they might stay there in that place until their lord should return. This done, he went his way to the coast of the Phrygians. Now the Trojans followed Hector, son of Priam, and close away, like a storm cloud or flame cloud of fire, fighting with might and main, and raising a cry of battle, for they deemed that they should take the ships of the Phrygians and kill all their chiefest heroes then and there. Meanwhile, earth encircling Poseidon, lord of the earthquake, cheered on the Argives, for he had come up out of the sea, and had assumed the form and voice of Hippolytus. First he spoke to 2 Ajaxes, who were doing their best already, and said, Ajaxes, you 2 can be saved of the Phrygians, and you have put out all your strength, and not let yourselves be daunted. I am not afraid of the Trojans who have got over the wall in force, will be victorious in any other part, for the Phrygians can hold all of them in check. But I much fear that some evil will befall us here, where furious Hector, who owes himself as son of great Zeus himself, is leading them on like a pillar of flame. May some god then put it into your hearts to make a firm stand here, and to incite others to do the like. In this case, you will drive him from the ships, even though he be inspired by Zeus himself. As he spoke, the earth encircling along the earthquake struck both of them with the scepter, and filled their hearts with daring. He made their legs light and active, as also their hands and their feet. Then, as the soaring falcon poises on the winged high above some Sura, and presently swoops down to chase some bird over the plain, even so did Poseidon, lord of the earthquake, lean his flies into the air and lead them. And the two spoke Ajax, son of Hippolytus, was the first to know who it was that had been speaking with them, and said to Ajax, son of Telamon, Ajax is one of the gods that dwell on Olympus, who is likeness of the prophets, is bidding us fight hard by our ships. He is like Calchas the Syrian, the minor opponents. I knew him at once, I his feet, and
damn it.
For the gods are soon recognized.
Yeah, I'm muting you, dude. I'm done with that shit.
Fiercely within me, while my hands and my feet hungry are more eager for the prey. And Ajax, son of Telamon, answered, I too feed my hands grasp my spear more freely. My strength is greater than my feet more nimble. I now rode with furious Hector, son of Priam, even in single combat. Thus did they converse, exulting in the hunger after battle, which had not fulfilled them. Meanwhile, the earth encircling roused the Phrygians, they were wrestling in the river by the ships.
There's a Genji behind you guys.
And my feet, at sailed Trojans, had not really fall. In force, tears began falling from my eyes.
He just left. He went back over to the other room. Out of this. He's coming back. Genji's back. Nice, soldier.
But the truth lies before the great and terrible portent, which I had never thought to see. The Trojans on our ships, they who were heretofore like planets to behind, the planets that they were before, tranquility, and inclined to they brought themselves into the Trojans were not for women and face attack the Phrygians. But now they have sailed, sadly far from their city, and are fighting against the ships.
Ooh, Tracer on the phone? No, what the hell is Tracer doing? Alright, I'm pissed teleported. Teleporter's up.
they have strong hands and men on whom enough even Mary's working up multiple offers could make nice. But it was a moment that his men offers over always on shield to shield, upward to butler, helmet to helmet, and man to man. The force of craft touch one another as they nodded forward so close and silly, where the spears had vanished and their strong hands were interlaced, and their hearts were set on that.
Reinhardt, I'm gonna let you use the teleporter. I'm gonna run in.
It sets the whole forest in an uproar. Its words smatter to rifle that until it reaches level ground. The big spirit it can go no further. Even so easily did Hector hurl and see that side of the these sentences of victories till he had reached the sea in his murderous force. The closely serried battalions escaped him when he reached them for the sons of the Philippines.
Teleporters or tracers on the back side of the point. I need help. She's very messing with me. Thank you. Zoe, stay. Stop moving around. Go down. Go down. Zoe, go down. Lay down.
They are taking off points. Strong match.
Nevertheless, the spear struck the boss of the shield, two forces, and immensely cannons of Athenians hold the right and the coast of the Vikings, while the two brave and Petrus Ajaxes were right on the bridges. As two lines snatched away for the hands of the back of the things, and they were breathing to the dark, so began their jaws, as the Ajaxes made a lot, without the bridges, and stripping off his armor. Then some Orpheus, severe the head, the neck, the revenge for the death of Atlas, and sent forward over the ground as the neck hit the wall, so the fell in the back of the teeth. Poseidon was seeing the theory of his grandson, and Marcus, in that home, he had forward the Petrus of the Vikings stretched the mountains, still further was the eyes evil of the Trojans, and he was taking the evil on and just to him from the flying queen of the being, his fitting soldiers bore him off the field. And Iliad, in the word still, he positioned without his tent, or he was still thirsting for battle. Poseidon spoke in the likeness in which the voice of Thomas, son of Agamemnon, who had made with Ares Williams, and honored among his people as a leader of God. What has now become of the threats, with which the sons of the Philippines used to threaten the Trojans, and Idumeus, chief among the prisons, answered, Thomas, no one, so far as I know, is in blood, for we they all fight. None are held back neither by fear nor slackness, but it seems to be the will of Almighty Zeus, that the Athenians should perish, and gloriously here, those whose last has been always established, and who keep others in power to exceeding fail in duty. Be not grieved as that, and so far, you have us. To this Poseidon, won't hurt them, may answer, Idumeus may be never return from Troy, but remain here for dogs to fatten upon. Do understand, look this slack, in fighting, get your armor and go. We must lay all face together, that we may be of any use. But we are going to, even cowards gain courage from companionship, and we too can hold our own with the bravest. We know that when the god his back is a thick of the fight, and Idumeus, when he had reached his tent, donned his armor, grasped his two spears, and sent sally forward. As the lightning reached the son of Cronus, brandishes from the right Olympus.
That says raw dog. He just fell down.
Erroneous is a sturdy squire, and that's him, while he was still near his tent, but he was
No idea.
Erroneous said, Erroneous, please the son of Malchus, best of comrades, why have you left the field? Are you wounded, and these are points to weapon hurting you, or how do you get sent to the FD? There was no weapon, and I already fighting my teams. Erroneous also arose, I do more speeder, but I say one light, and I have no need for what I have. It's throwing like shield, your opponents, and Erroneous, and the weapons, and to do on, one speeder, Turkey, but each of these, and I can come out, me at arm's length, therefore I have spears, lots of shields, helmets, and British forcelets. They were built at 19 lightning, and I like as full as taken Trojans, but they are like whenever there has been one fighting at Rhode Island among the forms, whenever they be those like you do not know how I fight, but you know it better than yourself. Iliad's answered, I know you are a great man, you need not tell me if the best men of the ships were being chosen to go on an ambush, and there is nothing like this for showing what a man is made of. It comes out then who is cowardly and who is brave. The cowardly who fire from his color and he is all ears, and keeps shifting his weight, first on one knee and then on the other. His hands be fast as he can see, and like to feel check with the sea, whereas the blue man will not use cold when he fighting on finding himself in the language. There is all the time longing to go into action, but the best man for being chosen for such a service, no one can make life or courage nor feats of arms. The human shrunk by the guard was within his close arms. Now be from behind, the only way, the lightning of the made the checks with them, and passing forward to place in front of us. And also all the strength of the right hand, Phil Fisher spear from the tent at once, on this erroneous and clear curtains, here's the sting ground, so the spear throngs, they didn't pull it after the meeting, they look so that as we go, but they will not listen to both the contending hosts and will give victory to one side or the other. Even so did Moronius and Hymenaeus, captains of men, who out to battle. Was first to speak in is that Athenians will be the weakest. There are others in the center. The two weaknesses in Passer, who is planetary for all Athenians. This will also hand fight. These will be effective to every end. Enough to do. Fight as a man, who will find it hard for anything. There is not a full period. Empire, the ships, unless a son premise, one fireman, among them with his own hand, great Ajax, son of Telamon, will yield it to no man who is immortal more and eats the grain of the meter. The bronze and stones can overthrow him. He would not yield even to Achilles, and hand-to-hand fight, and in fleetness of foot, there is none to beat him. Let us turn therefore towards the left wing, that we may know whether we are to give glory to some other, or he to us. When everyone's here a fleet there is, then led the way till they came to the part of the host, which Idomeneus had named. Now, when the Trojans saw Idomeneus coming on a flame of fire, him and his squire, clad their richly wrought armor, they shouted and made towards him, all in the body, and a furious hand-to-hand fight raged under the ship's sterns. Fierce the shrill winds that whistle on a day when dust lies deep on the roads, when the gusts raise the edgings of thick cloud. Even such was the fury of the combat, and might and main did they have at each other, with spear and sword, throughout the host. The field bristled with the long and deadly spears which they bore, as length was the sheen of their gleaming helmets, their crashed furnace breastplates, and glittering shields as they joined the battle of one another. Iron indeed must be his courage. Who could take pleasure in the sight of such turmoil, and look on as games dismay? Thus the two mighty sons of Cronus and eyes evil for mortal heroes. The Zeus was minded to either victory contingent into Hector, so as in order to please Achilles, nevertheless he did not mean to be proven equals that were Ilium, and only wants to glorify Venus and her valiant son. Poseidon, on the other hand, had wins a vouch from one of the Argives to incite them, having them up from the great sea in secret, for he was grieved at seeing them vanquished by the Trojans, and was fiercely angered with Zeus. Both were from the same race and country as Zeus, who was elder-born and newer. Therefore Poseidon feared to defend the Argives openly, and like as a man, he kept on encouraging them to rush their host. Thus to end these two rise enough for war, and a battle, and no news for brave, and set no sacks tugging at it, to the failing of men's knees before them. And now, Idomeneus, the robe in his hair was already like a gray, full of light on the eyes, and so among the Trojans as he beat, and among them his feet, authoring no less from Antisus, as Sojourner who had but lately come to take part in the war. He sought to stand up the bears of God's doctors, and never to offer no gifts of wooing, when he promised to great things with, that he would retrieve the sons of Hercules, Iliad from Troy, 14 grand, and should this consent and promise of him, where all the people that came to the promises, thus he him.
Yo!
In the spear, they hit him as he came shining on, his cuirass, out of the rocks, did not protect him, and the spear struck him.
Oh my god, what is it? Oh my god. Hell yeah, I'm glad you found it. Totally. Oh, that's what you said. Yeah.
Imagination is impossible to see.
was more angry than anyone that you're not making for disrespecting on that.
Come with me! Kill that bitch! Oh my god! We have to kill this mate if we're gonna do anything.
The bravest man in all Troy had taken her to wife, him to the side and lay low by hand of the Venus, lining his bright eyes and binding his strong limbs and feathers, so that he could not even
Reinhardt's discorded.
The stood stock still like pillar or lofty tree, when the Venus struck him with a spear in the middle of his chest, the coat of mail.
Mercy's discorded. Reinhardt's discorded. Reinhardt's in one, almost one hit. Someone's dead.
Get over here! Over any time, a loud voice saying, "You know this, since you know I don't do these, I'm lost, just bad wits. You know that we have to do 3 ends to your names. And fact, we will set, and you know what that is. You see what I am. That I have come here. The Zeus first, you got the notes. She will release, and you know, and you got this own. The Lord, he was made on. You know, many names you create. You like to set it up, not able to, so you thank to himself. Your father in the Trojans. Thus, the decision your focus was into minds, and it's no matter, it's another truly that him. For the sake of the child, it's in the hand of God. In the end, that's the very best experience. We will be on, and you will be back on, and we will be on. Because it's like this really, so you know, even this new share come along, you know this one, and they ask, what's up on the Trojans, and you know, any times in the future, looking out in the volume,
Excuse me! Oh my god! His leaders and troops along with himself and the people, all of them had shoot hands of them when they were down in the front of the center of his land. Even so was the heart king as land when he saw his people all men. Then they thought fiercely and close in combat to have the body that was weaving in their long spears and bronze armor. The body was sprang fearfully as they could aim at one another. He was like on 2 was they as the Ascus berries, and they everyone desired to have himself with the spear. Phineas, who claimed first Iliad, was on the lookout and avoided the spear, so that his head contained a strong hand vein that quivering the ground. Iliad meanwhile smote, holding a mass in the middle of his belly and broke the plate of his horsehead, where on his vows came rushing out and clutched the earth in the palms of his hands as he fell sprawling in the dust. The Phineas threw his out the body, the direction of the rest of the armor was like that which had farmers to be over. His strength was now being able to kill him so that he could no longer charge. He was so sweet over the years old, and was one side of the woman that aimed at him. Therefore, though he still protected himself and kept the times, his heavy feet could not bear swiftly out of the battle. Until Otis, getting the spear as he was retreating slowly from the field for his business against him was as fierce as ever. But again he missed him, and hit as the son of Ares, the spear went through his shoulder and flushed the skirt in the palms of his hands as he fell sprawling in the dust. Great Ares of the awful voice did not yet know that his son had fallen, for he was sitting for Zeus doing this, and the holy clouds like the land of Zeus, where the other gods were also sitting, forbidden to take part in the battle. Meanwhile, men fought fiercely about the body. Dear Otis bore the helmet from off his head, and the Ronis sprang upon him and struck him on the arm with a spear, so that the visor helmet fell from his hand and came rooting down upon the ground. Thereon, my Ronis sprang upon him like Walter, drew the spear from his shoulder and fell back under cover of his men. Then Politics, brother of Diophobus, passed his arms round his waist and bore him away on battle till he got to his horses that were standing in the rear of the fountain. Who carried standard driver, these took him towards the city, burning and in great pain with the blood flowing from his arm. The others sent on, and the battle fire rose ahead of him. Without ceasing, Aeneas sprang on Atharias, son of Calitor, and struck him with a spear in his throat, which was turned towards him. His head fell on one side, his helmet shield came down along with him, and Zeth life's bow was shed around him. And so the side his strength and flew forward towards whom, and wounded him as he was turning round. He laid upon the vein that runs all the way down the back of the neck, and cut the vein clean away, throughout its whole course, and whom fell in the dust, face upwards, stretching out his hands, imploring towards his comrades. Until the sprang upon him and stripped the armor from his shoulders, glaring round him fearfully as he did so. The Trojans came about him on every side and struck his broad and gleaming shield, but could not wound his body, for beside him stood God over the son of Nestor, though the dogs fell quickly round him. He was never clear of the foe, but was always in the thick of the fight. His spear was never idle, it always aimed in every direction, so neither was he to hit someone from a distance, nor to find him hand to hand. As he was thus aiming among the crowd, he was seen by Adamas, son of Asius, who rushed towards him and struck him with a spear in the middle of his shield. Poseidon made the points without effect, so he crushed him the like of Antilochus. One half therefore of the spear stuck fast, like a charred stake in Antilochus' shield, and while the other lay on the ground, Adamas then sought shelter under cover of his man, Meriones, followed after and hit him of spear midway between the private parts of the navel, where a wound is particularly painful to wretched mortals. There in Romanus transfixed him and withered convulsively about the spear at some bald mountain herdsmen have bound with ropes of whips and are taking away perforce. Even so did he move convulsively for a while, but not for very long, till Romanus came up and drew the spear out of his body, and his eyes were veiled in darkness. Atlas then struck the Diaphorius with a great Grecian sword, hitting on the temple in close combat and carrying the helmet from his head. The helmet fell to the ground, and one of those who were fighting on Putin's side took charge of it as they rolled at his feet. The eyes of Diaphorus were closed to the bottom, and his loss was breathing in the Spanish spear that was in the roof of the and the one of the ceremonies, the one with the spear, and the bow and arrow. The son of Priam hit the breastplate of Menelaus, corslet, but the arrow glanced from off of it, as black beams were pulsed pattering down onto the threshing floor from the broad winnowing shovel, blown by shrill winds and shaken by the shovel. Even so did the arrow glance off and recoil from the shield of Menelaus, bearing his turn wounded the hand of which Atlas carried his bow. The spear went right through his hand and stuck into the bow itself, so that his life he retreated under the cover of his men, and his hand dragging by his side, for the spear weighed down to the back of the house, and bound the hand carefully back to the long sling, which was Esquire had with him. The sounder that made straight at Menelaus's evil destiny, luring him onto his doom, for he had to fall in fight with evil Menelaus. When the two were hard by one another, the spear of the son of Atreus turned aside, and he missed at his aim. The sounder then struck the shield of great Menelaus, but could not use it, for the shield stayed the spear and broke the shaft. Nevertheless, he was glad and made sure of victory. Forthwith, however, the son of Atreus drew his sword and sprang upon him. The sounder then seized the long's battle axe, with his long and polished handle of all wood. That unlined the side under the shield, and the two men at one another. The sander struck the spear of Menelaus's crested helmet, just under the crest itself, and Menelaus kept the sander as he was coming towards him. On the forehead, just at the rise of his nose, the bones cracked, and his two dwarfed battle eyes fell out of reach in the dust. He fell backwards to the ground, and Menelaus set his heel upon him, stripped him of his armor, and launched over him, saying, "Even thus shall you further the illusions of the Greeks, proud and insatiate, and martial and envy, nor shall you lack me for disgrace and shame, which you have heaped upon myself."
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers.
Count these evils that you are, you fear not anger of direct use, but anger and violence and hospitality. You will one day destroy your city. You shall not laugh and immediately carry on much treasure when you were her guest. And now we come in higher on our ships, and fill our heroes, and they will come and rage as you may. We shall be safe with all everyone. We will say, ours are all the mountain men losing from whom all things that come as you receive. How can we frustrate the Trojans men so badly overweening that they are never tired of fighting all things fall? After a while, sleep will have a sweet song and safety dance. All these things that put a man will surely have to spill, rather than a battle. Whereas it was a battle that proves a fierce insolent. So surely our last, searching for us in the armor, and the outsider, and that we would have dreamed himself. And I was in the fight. I'll tell you on the 17th following us, and find them he had to find a fully all of his own, and he did not go home again. He started on Menelaus's shield with his spear, and he got his and the sea was on the back of the double over here. It really came on the countryside, lest he should be moving the place, and Wallace kept carrying at him, as he was moving with his mother right now. And the arrow pierced the them, with that blue, tapping the ladder, so he said that he was his last in the arms of his comrades, and stretching the wood on the ground, watering through with a blood that flowed from his wound. The brave Paphlagonians tended him upon the grave. They raised him into his chariot and bore him sadly off to the city of Troy. His father went also with him, weeping bitterly that there was so no ransom that could bring his dead son to life again. Paris, with deeply grateful to death of the who was his host, equal among the Paphlagonians, the enemy of every others of their survivors who family, Utile, son of Polysius, was rocket, a great man and lovely whose home was important. This unicorn had set sail for Troy, well knowing that after would be the death of him. What was his problem? Polysius had promised him that he must either stay home, or now he heard when he sees Orgo Prucans and perish at the hands of Trojans. He chooses without waiting, hearing the heavy kind that Prucans would have laid upon him, at the same time escape in suffering of disease. Paris now smoked him on God with his fear of armor, and captured him, reasons trapped in the house of death. Thus then did the fight as it was bloody time, he had not got hurt, and did not know how to make power. That we know that all the Prucans that you have fight over their lunacy, did the silence hear them on, and felt them. He had struck down a lot of the points, but he had preserved his way, through the things and all after working through the same things and all the wounds. It was here to defeat us, where none at the highest detour. Here the wall was excellent, and the fighting of the man horse which was fiercely, moving the end of the Laconians with their long tunics, the Laconians in the middle of the force, and the Epians could hardly say, no rest for the weary. Ships more they drive him,
Teleporter
for he was
online.
all that fire, which risen at the Epians with a band that by Melsidius, son of Nicholas, with Archanius, and Sidius, and forward Linus. With his fires, and the light and directness, and the names on the and self confidence, but the Melchidia, these was Asher's son, Archanius, but the Sidius, but he would have access away from his own country, for he had killed the brother of the son of Archanius, who wife of Iliad, the other of Darkness, the son of Adelphus, son of Philocus, Ajax. These two stood in the van of the Titans, and the two ships along the voting lines. Ajax, some of the earliest never flown, went beside Ajax, but has two some also straight that happens at the plan, which are on the field, scenes, happens to the place, and goes to the rich field. Even so, the two Ajaxes hang forward by one another. Many great comrades followed the son of Telamon, so they ripped him of the shield, the super commerce of the Valkyries did not follow circles after the son of Iliad, for they could not hold their own in hand-to-hand fight. They had the bronze helmets of the there, neither had their shields, nor had their spears, but they had no short army bows. The slaves was a coming down! Others had holes that had on his work, those not for the fight, while the Walkers saw from behind under the cover, and the Trojans hands always hard, with their shields and fusion. The Trojans would now have their shields, and so we found the ships and tanks that we needed. Do you think that you must therefore instead of others in council, you cannot respect the honest enough things? Has made a dancer, singer, and player of the lyre. While he has made other choose, as he points to wise understanding of which men recruit the same thing, and himself never saw about it than anyone at the same time. Several fires, and even now, moving forward, while others are fighting some of the ships, who are active or energy was known as trying to get away by now. All the ships will end up in house state as we do, or we can use it, and people do the humans will pay us the designating costs for the ships. It was near never weary, Asshole, and you will not hold aloof much longer. Such stood around us, and this was please actor, but he's spending more of his characters in us. Rather than taking here, I will go yonder as the fight, and will resent once landing in their orders. He then spent on the howling like a snowy mountain, and with a loud cry, flew the ranks of the Trojans and allies. Moving here, his voice in all cases together, and Allies, the son of Andros, but Hector's neck on along foremost, looking everywhere to find Theophilus, Prince Helenus, Adams is the son of Asius, and Asius is the son of Heraclius. Bringing the and was no longer find orders to pass the line by his own ships, slain by the Argives, while others had also stood and by them, but on the left wing of the great battle, he found Paris husband above behind, cheering his men and putting them on to fight. He went up to him and afraid him, Paris said he not hearted Paris, Paris seed of woman man, and also son, where are the Theophilus and King Helenus, where are Atlas, and of Asius, and Asius the son of Heraclius, for there, where too is work Heroinus, Iliad is undone, and now will surely fall. Hector answered, Hector, all thy faults, when there is no one to find fault with. I should hold aloof from battle on anything rather than this, for my mother bore me of nothing of the cavalry without me. From the moment when you sent our men, fighting about the ships, we have been staying here, and we have the nuns, our comrades, and I feel you answer me, our friend, Theophilus, and King Helenus, alone have with the rest of the come on, let's bring it together. Promise to save them alive. Now therefore be on, and you would have us go, and we will follow with rank goodwill. You shall not find us fail, you are in so far as our strength holds. Now, no man can be more wise, no matter how strong he may be. With these words, he satisfied his brother, the two went towards the part of the battle, where the flank was finished and outset Romus. Great Polymas, Valkyries, Morpheus, godlike Polypets, Palames, Axinius, and Maurice, son of Hippocrates, who had come from Ascania on the preceding day to bring other troops and Zeus urged him on to fight. The fleet were like a last and distractor from the bank of the thunderstorm. They defended the whole sea into an uproar. Many and mighty are the great waves that come crashing in one after another on the shore. Their barking fans all crested with foam. Even so did high rank Trojans, arrayed in gleaming armor, all their leaders onward. The way was led by Hector's and Priam, fear of murderous Ares, with his round shield before him, his shield amongst ice covered with of bronze, and gleaming helmet on his temples, he kept serving over in the power of the shield. In every direction, making stride over the banks to see if they would give way for him. While he could not doubt the courage of humans, Ajax, the first stride out, challenged him, served by, saw near blind, he think that's many just more problems. When he beings actually soldiers, served seas, as fellow men with us, for us, the seven soldiers, just that we two have hands that can fix you ahead, and the things there down, shall soon, you see what they think, sat by ourselves, the time is near when you shall bring seats and all the God in life, and your seeds may be swifter than us, as they raised with us on the plain, bearing back tears. As the hands was thus speaking, other than my right hand, the first speaking, where things to come, that they ways of us forgot, and also from wood and heart, were I sure of things you, forevermore, each shall excuse a free header, for my mother, and will be in hell and all my fear upon it, and I am at this day as they wish not to be pleased, you shall fall along in the year of my past year, you shall bring with your body, and being blessed our hands and birds of prey with your hands and your flesh, and you fall off your goons. With these words he led her away, and others saw the death of the bride, and there all the host checked behind them, all down on their heart, raised the shackle of bronze, and were to hold their backs, and stood firm against all the opportunities, and fire from both hands, there was not to heaven of the house of Jesus Christ.
Oh, my damn! Oh, let's break it!
master swings and extreme on them. Turn
it up!
Being on the shore itself, inasmuch as they had been reached first, while the wall had been built behind the innermost. This great visual, wide though it was, did not afford room for all the ships, and the post was cramped for space. Therefore, in that space, the ship and road was on the other, but had built as soon as you think at one place. The kings leaning on these spears were putting out survey the fight, feeling away from anxiety, and when old Master met them, they were filled with dismay. But then he among them said to them, Master, Mary, I have never seen them, why have you left the battle of the competition? Have you ever left under several seasons? He told them with prudence, saying that we were marching with them, so we had five ships before us. This is what we said, that is all we do. Alas, all the prudence and please are in anger with me, as they refuse to find out them our ships. And the answer to me, answer to me, as you say, is not true at this moment, even Zeus, becoming strong outside.
Oh, let's break it! Damn!
The truth is, I think suddenly come about speaking about this. Yes, where the man who got taken before us, the man who begins to come up, now being killed, so we do man. I would have a cry, son of heaven. Let us think about what we have used, what we have to do, not to our lives, but we have ourselves, and to fight, and using, and you and the monk, and to all of you like you do, and you all, and to us, and to our heart, and to keep the things, and we are in the juice, that are on the beach and running from the other. Let's make a message and move on. We know that there is nothing wrong in flying the room, even by night. If the devil and the future already clear, so we can't this is the I think that somebody goes, what are you talking about? You should have made some other base army, and we were over us at Zeus, and the latter lack of power fighting from the Ukraine age, so we are doing it first. And then after our protection group, which is the deep belief to them, we have suffered so much of it. Over deep, and all the Philippines, which you say, no man knows how to get the job.
Oh, let's break it! Damn! I'm just getting started.
Move the payload!
These things are true now. Therefore,
Let's get you healed up.
The voice that came from his defense was as that of 9 or 10,000 men. They are shouting at the
Oh, let's break it!
Here she entered a poisonous finder. She claimed to their body of ambrosia. Then she anointed herself with holy sauce and kept it filled with herself. But this she anointed her delicate skin, and then she
I'm just getting started. They've got a shield generator here somewhere.
She put off the wall box before, which Athena had worked for her with consuming charge and had embroidered the manifold of devices. She fastened it about her bosom with a golden clasp, and she girded herself with a girdle that had hundred tassels. Then she fastened her earrings very brilliant and glistened most beautifully, but the fruit of the lobes of her ears, and put a lovely new veil over her head. She bound her hands with lots of quickly, and when she had arrayed herself perfectly to her satisfaction, she left her room and went Aphrodite. She come inside and speak to her. My dear child, said she.
Play of the match.
Yeah, will you do what I am going to ask of you, or will you refuse me because you are angry at my being on the non-side? You are uncertain. Because you are others who advise us after my growth. Stop what you want, and I will do for you as much as I can, and if you tell me how, then I will offer a line scale instead of looking down and looking at her fascinating columns, the spells of which are all things more fun and more pure hate. I felt the world sense of his pushiness, from whom all gods proceed, mother, Thetis. They received me in their house, took care of me, and brought me up, having taken me over from Rhea, when Zeus imprisoned her Cronus in the depths that are under earth and sea. I must go and see them that I may make peace between them, and having quarreling. They are so angry that they had not slept with one another this long while. If I can bring them round and restore them to one another's embraces, they will be grateful to me and love me forever afterwards. Thereon, laughing, laughter, loving Aphrodite, said, I cannot and must not refuse you, for you sleep in the arms of Zeus, who is our king. As she spoke, she loosed from her bosom the curious and ruddy girdle, into which all her charms have been wrought. Love, desire, and that sweet flattery which steals the judgments even of the most prudent. She gave the girdle to Hera, and said, take this girdle wherein all my charms reside, and lay it in your bosom. If you will labor, I promise that your errand, even what it may, will not be bootless. But then she heard this Hera smile, and so smiling, she laid the girdle in her bosom. Aphrodite now went back into the house of Zeus, while Hera darted down the summits of Olympus. She passed through Riviera, and there, Amathia, and went on until she came to the snowy ranges of the Phrygian horsemen, over whose topmost crest she sped without ever setting foot to ground. When she came to Athos, she went on over the waves of the sea, till she reached Lemnos, the city of Olympus. There she met Sleep, own brother to death, and caught him by the hand, saying, Sleep, you who, Lord, is alike over mortals and immortals, if you ever did me a service in times past, do one for me now, and I shall be grateful to you ever after. Close Zeus's keen eyes from me in slumber, while I hold him clasped in my embrace, and I will give you a beautiful golden seat that can never fall to pieces. My club with its son Hephaestus shall make it for you, and he shall give it a footstool for you to rest your fair feet upon when you are at the table. Then Sleep answered, Hera, great queen of goddesses, daughter of mighty Cronus, I would lull any other of the gods to sleep without compunctuation, not even excepting the waters of Oceanus, from whom all of them escape. I dare not go near Zeus, nor send him to sleep unless he bids me. I have had one lesson already through doing what you asked on me. On the day when Zeus, mighty son of Hercules, set sail from Ilium, after having sacked the city of the Trojans, aggravating my success, my sweet realized that he was bearing Zeus, and laid him to rest. Meanwhile, you catch up against Hercules, and set the blast of angry winds beating upon the sea, so you took him to the goodly city of Pause. Away from all his friends, Zeus was furious with the world and began hurling the gods about all over the house. He was looking more for people myself, and would have flung me down through the space into the sea, that I should never have heard of any more. Had not I, who has both men and gods protected me, I pointed her, and Zeus left off, looking for me in spite of his being so angry. For he did not dare do anything to please night, and now you are again asking me to do something on which I cannot venture. And Hera said, Sleep, why do you take such notions as those into your head? Do you think Zeus will be anxious to help the Trojans, as he was to have his own son? Come, I will marry you to one of the youngest of the Graces, and she shall be your own, Athena, whom you have always wanted to marry. Sleep with me.
He let it. He went to go to team chat because we were in team chat. He's like, oh, team chat, and then I went to team chat. It's gone. He lost SR.
He lost 50 SR, dog.
I have always wanted to marry. Hera did as she had said. She swore and invoked all the gods of the nether world, who are all the titans to witness. When she had completed her oath, the two enshrouded themselves in a prison nest and sped lightly forward, leaving Lemnos and Emrys behind them as when they reached the and same in a mother wild beast, Lipton, where they left the sea to go on my land, the tops of trees, the forts, so under the going of their feet. Here Sleep halted, and Hera Zeus caught sight of the going of their feet. Him he climbed a lofty pine tree, the tallest that leader, his head towards heaven on walking up. He hid himself behind the branches and sat there, in semblance of the sweet singing bird that haunts the mountains and is called childless. By the gods, the mythful Silenus, Hera then went to her rest, the topmost figure get up, and Zeus, driver of the clouds, set eyes upon her. As soon as he did so, he began to complain with the same passionate desire for her that he had felt when they had first enjoyed each other's embraces, and slept with one another without their dear parents knowing anything about it. He went up to her and said, What do you want that you have come hither from Olympus, and that you with neither chariot nor horses to convey you? Then Hera told him a lying tale and said, I'm going to the world's end to visit Oceanus, from whom all gods proceed, mother Thetis. They received me into the house, took care of me, and brought me up. I must go and see them that I may make peace between them. They have been quarreling. They are so angry that they have not slept with one another this long time. The horses almost went through the land, and still are stationed on the lowermost spurs of many towns in Pita. I have come here from Olympus on purpose to consult you. I was afraid you might be angry with me later on if I went to the house of Oceanus without letting you know. And Zeus said, Hera, you can Choose some other time for paying your visit to us. For the present, let us devote ourselves to love and study learning to one another. Never yet have I been so overpowered by passion, neither for goddess nor mortal woman, as I am at this moment for yourself. Not even when I was in love with the wife of Thesion, who bore me Eurypylus, pure gods in council, no of Danae, and with Doctor of Chrysias, who bore me the faith of Chrysias. Then there was the Doctor of Phoenix, who bore me Minos and Rhadamanthus. But there was Selene, and Alcmena, and Thebes, who I feel to drive my light-hearted son Hercules, while somebody became Mother Cautious, the mother of mankind. There was Queen Demeter again, and Mother Lisa, and yourself. None of these was I ever so much enamored as I now am with you. Hera answered him with a lying tale. Most great son of Protos, she exclaimed, what are you talking about? We have enjoyed one another here on the top of man's get where everything can be seen. What if one of the ever-living gods should see us sleeping together and tell others? It would be such a scandal that when I had risen for your embraces, I could never show myself inside your house again. But if you watch the mind, there is room which your son Theseus has made me, and he has given a good, strong wars. If you would so have it, but let us go thither and lie down. And Zeus answered, Hera, you do not be afraid of the god of man will see you. I will entrap both of us in such a dense golden cloud, that the very sun from his bright piercing beams shall not see through it. But this is son of Protos, I his memories, where on the earth shrouded them a cushion of young grass. You, Samuel, Lotus, Progress and Tyson, and so soft thick that raised them well above the ground. Here they laid themselves down overhead and were covered by a fair
This brings me
thus would bend the desire of all things, repose peacefully on the crest of death, overcome at once by sleeping love, and he held his spouse in his arms. Meanwhile, sleep lay off to the ships of the Phrygians, the tale of their concerning Poseidon, Lord of Earthquake, when he had found them, he said, now Poseidon, you can help the gods with the will and give them victory. There would be only for a short time when Zeus, the still sleeping, had sensed him into sweet slumber, and Hera had beguiled him to go into
I
the
foresee great things for you.
Greetings.
I'm much for waiting around.
Wow, guys, really? No thanks. Really? That's that shit? Okay. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Mexico for life. Hell yeah, dude.
I'll be thank Captain. Holy fuck, we have no tank.
Yo, trash ass squad. Trash ass squad. Everyone's gonna be like, how did we lose so bad? I wonder.
Okay, I'll do tank after though.
Yeah, I would too, but unfortunately I'm solo healing too.
God damn, dude. How long play?
Wait. Oh shit, you're the soldier. No, 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 you shouldn't be the one to change. Jesus.
Nah, bro, I'll change. Fucking.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, it has to be you. You're the only one that's listening.
God damn, the game demolished. Bro, just fucking change, bro. What are we a fucking Hongo?
Together.
Thank you. God damn, I don't know. I already lost 3 games in a row. I don't want this to be fucking 4-4.
Just like in trade.
Oh my god. Kill, Zarya. Oh shit, heal. Wait, did you die? Heal please? Heal?
No, I'm alive. I just...
I'm getting cornered by the fat dude.
I know. I'm trying to heal everybody though. I'm solo healing.
Good Batman. Holy shit, they all ran that fast. Got the mercy. Holy fuck. It's Roadhog, bro. Fucking piss me off. Oh, Batman trying to get me.
Just like in trade.
Oh my god, dude, that Roadhog almost died.
Alright.
We're destroying our team. He also fucking, he can hook me through my fucking thingy.
Don't. Mexico for life, don't even fuck with me. Don't. I know you need healing.
Holy fucking shit.
Yo. This. Wow. Alright, I'm out this.
Zeus waits, tells Apollo to heal Hector, and the Trojans again become victorious. But instead of flying, they didn't pass the trench and the set stakes. They had fallen by the hands of the gods. The Trojans made that call on reaching their chariots, wrapped in hail with fear. Zeus, where he was lying, holding from Hera by his side and starting to his feet, he saw the Trojans and Trojans, who one threw into confusion, and others driving them, hell, before them with King Poseidon in their midst. He saw Hector lying on the ground with his comrades gathered around him, gasping for breath, wandering in mind and vomiting blood, for he was not the feeblest of Phoenicians who struck him. The sire of gods and men had pity on him, and looked fiercely on Hera. I see, Hera, he said you mischief maker trickster, that your cunning has saved Hector from fighting and has caused the rout of his host. I even have a mind to thrash you, in which case you will be the first to reap the fruits of your scurvy knavery. Do you not remember how once upon a time I had you hanged? I fastened 2 anvils to your feet and bound your hands in a chain of gold, which none might break. And you hung in mid-air among the clouds. All the gods in Olympus were fury, but they could not reach you to set you free. When I caught any one of them, I gripped him and hurled him from the heavenly threshold, till he came fainting down to earth. Yet even this did not relieve my mind from the incessant anxiety which I felt about noble Hercules, who knew glorious and spitefully conveyed beyond the sea's cause. After surviving the tempest, but I rescued him, and, notwithstanding all his mighty labors, I brought him back against Argos. I will remind you of this that you may learn to leave off being so deceitful, and discover how much you are likely to gain by the embraces out of which you have come here to trick me. Hera trembled as he spoke, he said, "May heaven above and earth below both the waters of river Styx, and this is the most solemn oath that a blessed God can take. Nay, I swear also by your own almighty head and by our rival head, things over which I could never possibly perjure myself. That Poseidon is not punishing Hector, and the Trojans and the Phoenicians through any doing of mine, it is all of his own mere motion. Because he was sorry to see the Phoenicians power pressed at their ships. If I were advising him, I should tell him to do as he did. The sire of gods and men smiled and answered, "The duty of them at least to support me when we sit in council of the gods. Poseidon, like it or no, would soon come round to your and my way of thinking. If then you are seeking the truth, then me what you said, you're alone to rank and file of the gods, and tell Iris and Apollo, Lord of the bow, that I want them. Iris, that she may go with Phoenicians, coast and tell Poseidon to leave off fighting, and go home. And Apollo, that he sends Hector again to that one that's straight. You will thus report his precious companies, and drive the Phoenicians, and to confusion, to the all of the mission of Phoenicians, so that us, Phoenicians will raise his comment after us, and to battle. We told him about the Phoenicians, as we got slain warriors, and all the money that was about, and Phoenicians will kill Hector's image, at once, and prove to them, and bring it out, that we use the personally conclusions that the building councils of Athena. I will not see what I will do to speak on the wall. Here I have Congress, it is also telling us, the police will act on the way to the ideas, and telling these powers of music and honor. Hera, even in his words, in the thanks to them, a great poetess, swooped his smile, and whose hands carries him in the next days, he said to himself, that I would be here or there, and he would have all manner of things, waiting for something to Hera, waiting for things, until he came back to us, and all the gods who were gathered around Zeus. Why are you here? And you seem troubled. Has your husband self-promised been fighting you? And do not incest me about it. You know what the time and good position my husband has. The gods the table where you all immortals can hear. The wicked designs which he has had. Many of us will put you over. Would you anger that and all usually human beings have? All this purified him and you have to as his juice. Is that every us and then I was through it with which is simple age. Rules of God you find to be the same as you resource. We become one in the world and Sweden. But this is all. You know that he is a stronger than any of the immortals. Make the best therefore whatever it is he may choose to save each one of you.
Till Valhalla. Heroes never
As he's looking at words, so you his words
fire at will.
along with the safety of gods, strong from receiving her inside. He tore the helmet from his head and a shield from his shoulders as he put the long spear from his strong hand and set it on one side. Then she put his madman warrior gun. You have fears at your life when you have lost all reference to your soul. Have you not heard that Hitler has set out on the street from the presence of the King Zeus? Do you wish to go through all kinds of stuff before our accidents on the performance? Having wished all plus others, Zeus would instantly leave the true Iliad for themselves. He would come up a contest and would put us up one after another.
Thank you.
And looking up to everyone's whole family. These were she took Ares back to his seat. Meanwhile, Hera called Apollo outside with Iris the messenger of the gods. Zeus, she said, to them desires you to go to him at once on the Mount Ida. When you have seen him, do what you do as he might and you. Then on Hera, left Hera resumed her seat beside the Iris and Apollo. Made all things on their way. There is many hands to Ida. For a while days they found Zeus. He found topmost and fatherless. The purple goals of the stand. He couldn't his business that he was pleased with having into quick obeying the orders his wife had given him. He said that his first marriage that the queen was called to decided will not outdo you. And tell the truth. Give him to be off. He joined the will of God. Intimacy, and he thinks no king, and disobeys me. Let him consider that he is strong enough to hold him against me. I have him. I am old and the stronger. Time for a short. Not time. To set himself as unhonorable with myself. A war from fast and on. Iris, please as the one who laid him as a full hail or snow point that climbed from the clouds before the wrath of Orpheus. Even so, she being her way, and took him close and wished her order. And she said, I have followed out here, king that holds the world with his embrace. To be my messenger from Zeus. He bids you leave off planting and you join the of the gods, or go down into the sea. That however, you took no heed and disobeyed him. He says he will come down here and fight you. He would have you see how the creature of Venus or and is stronger than you are. And you are not afraid to set yourself up as honorable with himself, or who, or the gods. And now, the sign was very angry and said, wait, that is strong to use maybe. He would have said, more of you. He has better riders against me. He would have felt like that for himself. He would have let you know between us. Choose myself and Hades, who rules the world alone. Heaven and earth were divided into three parts, and each of us was to have a equal share. When we cast lots, it fell to me to have my dwelling in the sea of Hades took up into the bounds of the earth, while Aaron's dying passed the portion that fell to Zeus. The birth and great Olympus are the common powers of the gods. Therefore, I will have Zeus prepare me. For all this respect, let me keep it his own. Their share and be contented with my putting the right hands upon me, as if I could nobody. Let me keep the time with the same and boundaries, who are performed for him.
Fire at will.
You reconsider your answer.
Heroes never die.
The messenger shows no much discretion. Nevertheless, it presents a very high time anyone should rebuke so angrily another who is his own peer and of life empire within himself. Now, however, I will give way in spite of my displeasure. Furthermore, let me tell you, and I mean what I say, that contrary to the desire of myself, Athena, driver of the soul, Hera, Hermes, let him understand that he built a very capital possessions. Let's let it out now. You never see the solely in the Greek system that Jesus and Paul gives you notice to Hector, or Poseidon, has who has holds the bird and his embrace, has now gone down under the seat of wood severity to my displeasure. Had we not done so, those gods who are alone from us would have come to hear of the fight between us. It is better for both of us that we should have cursed his anger and kept on my leash, for I should have had much trouble with him. Take then your task with Aegis, and shake previously, so that the two courage of Hector. Take one either way, Hector, don't far out there, into the open air, and rise into the air, and the beings of some lying out is a hard spot. Some have, I will think it all over, how could you do it? Apollo will be responding soon, and like a falcon, raining down some twenties of orders. We found Hector no longer alive among the men, seeing up the Hector's come close up again. He knew that you were a man, so he might be letting go of his Apollo stood beside him and said, Hector said again, why are you so faint, and why are you here playing with others? Has any mishap befallen you? Hector and Duke voice answered, in which place were the gods? You now asking us, do you not know that Ajax struck me on the chest with a stone, as I was healing his promise, it's just a few minutes, you can prove me to leave off fighting, I made sure that this very day I should read my last, and get down at the house of Hades. And you smooth the way for them. In between the Egyptians and flight, as he spoke, he used great strength in defense of the table, and as a horse, stable and confident, breaks loose and gallops forward his feet, smooth with the blade, to a place where Hades walks to take his back from the river. He tosses his head, and his mane streams over his shoulders, as one out of his strength. He flies full speed, but Hector's arrows are beating even so. Hector, when he heard what he brought said, urged his horse behind, and stepped forward as fast as his legs could take him. Hands has taken shelter under the rock where he and they not find him, but one calling out better demon on his face. Even so, the Nubians were still, but when they saw Hector going about among his men, they were afraid, and their hearts fell down into their feet. Then stood the West, son of Aegon, leader of the Italians, a man who would go and keep well, and who was staunch also in his back. While he was surprised that they refused to retire. He thanked all sincerity and goodwill, addressed them thus, what in heaven's name will I not see is not Hector from laughing, and everyone make sure he had been killed by Ajax, son of Solomon. But it seems that one of the gods has again rescued him. He was killed many less than nines already, and I take it will yet do so with the hand of Zeus, as to be with him, for he would never dare show himself so masterful in the forefront of the battle. Now therefore let us all do as I say, let us order the main body of our forces to fall back upon the ships, but let those of us who profess to be the flower of the army stand firm, and see whether we cannot hold Hector back at the point of our spears as soon as he comes near us. I can see that he will think better of it before he tries to charge us the rest of the Danans. Thus we speak, and they did even as he said, those who were about Ajax and King Galenius, the followers, Mogul, Processor, Erroneus, and Nubians, Peter Ares, called all their best men about them to sustain the fight against Hector and the Trojans. But the main body fell back amongst the Phrygians. The Trojans pressed forward in a dense body with Hector striding on at their head. Before him comes Bogus Apollo, shrouded in cloud about his shoulders. He wore aloft the terrible aegis with its shaggy fringe, which Hephaestus, the smith, had given Zeus to strike hares the hearts of men. With this in his hand, he led on the Trojans. The Argives fell together and stood their ground to cry of battle, rose high from each side. Like arrows flew from those strings. Many of spears spit with strong hands and fastened the bodies of the enemy warrior, while others fell to earth and away before they could taste a man's fair flesh and waft themselves of blood. So long as Bogus Apollo held up his aegis quietly, and without shaking, the weapons on either side took effect, and the people fell, but when he shook it straight in the face of the Danans, raised the mighty battle cry, their hearts fainted within them, and they forgot their former promise, as when two wild beasts screamed the dead night on a herd of cattle, or a large flock of sheep, whom the herdsman is not there, even so with the Danans struck helpless for Apollo filled them with panic and gave victory to Hector and the Trojans. The fight then became more scattered, and they killed one another where they as could. Hector killed 6 Ajax, and 5 Atlas. There was one leader of the Iliads, and the other friend of Common and Theseus, and this killed many on the Dioses. The fiercest bastard son of Polias, who wrote his Ajax, but he lived in Phylace, away from his own country, for he had killed a man. I can never say that Iliad Book, who Elios had married. Iliasus had become a leader of the Athenians, and the son of Cephalus, the son of Malachos. Polyabas killed Mesiatus, and Hippolytus, Achaeus, and friends of Vansel while having horse with Lonius. Paris struck Eurychus from behind in the lower part of the shoulder as he was flying among the foremost, and the point of the spear was clean through him. While they were spoiling these heroes of their armor, the Athenians were flying pell-mell to the trench and set space, and the force back within the wall. Hector beat Priam and the Trojans forward to the ships and let the swing speed, and I see any man keeping back on the other side of the wall from the ships. I will have to kill him. His kinsmen and kinswomen shall not again his dues of my armor, but shall tear him in pieces in front of our city. As he spoke, he laid his whip about his horses' shoulders and called to the Trojans throughout their ranks. The Trojans shouted with a cry that rent the air, and kept their horses neck and neck with his own. Bogus Apollo went before and he down the banks of the deep trench into the middle, so as to make a great broad bridge. A rod has a thrown a spear and managed to find his strength. The Trojan battalions poured over the bridge, and Apollo, with his redoubtable aegis, led the way. He takes down the wall of the Athenians as easily as a child who, climbing on the seashore, has built a house of sand and then takes it down again and destroys it. Even so did you, O Apollo, shed toil and trouble upon the Argives, filling them with panic and confusion. Thus then were the Athenians and at their ships, calling out to one another and raising their hands with loud cries. Every man to heaven, Esther of Greece, tower of strength. To the Athenians lifted up his hands to the starry pyramids of heaven, and prayed more fervently than any of them. Father Zeus, said that he, if ever one been loose throwing or goes hurt, that by means of sheep or matter of freight, that you either turn safely on, whereon you bow your head to him in assent, and better as in I now suffer other Trojans to triumph, as over the Athenians. All counseling Zeus thundered loudly in answer to the prayer of the son of Elias, whom the Trojans heard Zeus thundering. They flung themselves yet more fiercely on the Athenians, as a wave breaking over the bulwarks of the ship. When the sea runs high before a gale, or is the force of the wind that makes the waves so great, even so the Trojans spring over the wall, shout and drive them chariots onwards. The two ships opposed with their double-pointed spears in hand-to-hand encounter. The Trojans from the chariots, Achaeans That means climbing up onto the ships and building the long spikes that were lying on the decks ready for use, and the sea fight joined shot with bronze, and Atlas, so lines the Athenians and the Trojans were fighting about the wall that were not to be answered within, and after the ships remained sitting in the tents of good Eurypylus, entertaining him with his conversation and spinning herbs over his wounded pieces came, when however he saw the Trojans swarming through the breach in the wall of the Athenians with clamoring, struck with panic, he cried out loud and smote his 2 times with the flat of his hands. Eurypylus said he in dismay, I know you want to badly, but I can't stay with you any longer, so there is hard fighting going on. A servant shall take care of you now, for I must make all speak about Achilles, and induce him to fight if I can. Who knows, but with heaven's help I may persuade you. A man goes well to listen to the advice of a friend. But he had spoken, he went to sweat the Athenians, said burn and resist the attack of the Trojans. That though these were few in number, they could not drive them back in the ships, neither could the Trojans, for the Athenians ranks and make their way among the tents of the ships, as a carpenter of line gives a true edge to a piece of a ship's timber, in the hand of some skilled workman from Athena, as instructed in all kinds of useful arts, even so level was the issue of the fight between 2 sides, as they fought, some round one and some round another. Hector made strict for Ajax, and the 2 fought furiously about the same ship. Hector could not force Ajax back and fire the ship, nor yet could Ajax drive Hector from the spot to which heaven had brought him. Then Ajax struck Calais horseman Clytius in the chest with a spear as he was bringing fire towards the ship. He fell heavily to the ground, and the torch dropped from his hand. When Hector saw his cousin falling from the ship, he shouted to the Trojans and Lycians, saying, Trojans, Lycians, and Armenians, moving close by to wait not the god, but rescue the son of Clytius, lest the Athenians strip him of his armor now that he was fallen. He then aimed a spear at Ajax in missing. It hit like a frog, a follower of Ajax, who came from Cythera, but was living with Ajax inasmuch as he had killed a man among the Cytherians. Hector's spear struck him on the head below the ear and fell headlong from the ship's bow onto the ground with no life, a left infant. Ajax shook with rage and said to his brother, Tasir, my good fellow, our trusty comrade, the son of Master, has fallen. He has came to live with us from Cythera, and whom we honor as much as our own parents. Hector has just killed him. Fetcher did the arrows at once and the bow which Phoebus Apollo gave you. Tasir heard him and hastened towards him with his bow and quiver in his hands. Forthwith he showered his arrows on the Trojans, and hit Clytius, son of Pisanor, comrade of Polydamas, noble son of Pampus, with the reins in his hands as he had into his horses. He was in the middle of the very biggest part of the fight, doing good service to Hector and the Trojans. But evil had now come upon him, and not one of those who were fain to do so could avert it, for the arrow struck him on his back of the neck. He fell from his chariot, and his horses shook at the empty car as they swerved aside. King Polydamas saw what had happened, and was the first to come up to the horses. He gave them a charge to Astynos, son of Proteaon, and ordered him to hold on, and to keep the horses near at hand. He then went back and took the space in front of the ranks. Tasir then aimed another arrow at Hector, and there would have been no more fighting at the ships if he had hit him and killed him then and there. Zeus, however, who kept watch over Hector, had his eyes on Tasir, and deprived him of his triumph by breaking his bowstring for him just as he was drawing it, and about to take his aim on the arrow went astray, and the bow fell from his hands. Tasir shook with anger and said to his brother, Alas, see how heaven forced us, and what we do. It has broken my bowstring and snatched the bow from my hand, though I strung it this self-same morning that it might serve me for many an arrow. Ajax, the son of Telamon, answered, my good fellow, let your bow and your arrows be, for Zeus has made them useless in order to sight. But knives, take your spear, by your shield, hold your shoulder, and don't fight the Trojans yourselves and Trojans to do so. They may be successful for the moment, but if we fight as we ought, they will find hard matter to take the ships. Tasir then took his bow and flicked by his stance. He hung a shield, bore on stick about his shoulders, not his calmly head. He set his helmet, went over onto the crest horse hair, and nodded menacingly above it. He grasped his redoubtable bronze and shot spear, and forthwith he was by the side of Ajax. When Hector saw that Tasir's bow was of no more use to him, he shouted after the Trojans and Lycians, and Iberians, doing close times. Be men, my friends, and show your mettle here at the ships, for I see the weapon of blood that cheapens may be used as by the hand of Zeus. It is easy to see when Zeus is helping people and means to help himself further, or again when he is bringing them down and will do nothing for them. He is now on our side and is going against Argives, therefore swarm around ships and fight. If any of you is struck by spear or sword and loses his life, let him die. He dies with honor, who dies fighting for his country, and he will leave his wife and children safe behind him, with his house and allotments, and plundered if only the Phrygians can be driven back to their own land, they and their ships. With these words he put his heart and soul into them all. Ajax on the other side exhorted his comrades, saying, Shame on you, Argives, who are now utterly undone unless we can save ourselves by driving the enemy from our ships. Do you think if Hector takes him, that he will be able to get home by land? Can you not hear him cheering on his whole host to fire our fleet, and bidding them remember that they are not as thanks in battle? For our only course is to fight them with might and main. We have better chance at life or death, once for all, than fight along with that you hem in by our ships, by worse men than ourselves. With these words he put his life and soul into all of them. Hector then killed Scythias, son of Pyramides, leader of the Phocians, and Ajax killed Laodamas, captain of foot soldiers and son to Anaphor. Polydamas killed Uncus, Celione, a comrade of the son of Ilias, and chief of the Tribunes. When Meges saw these men upon him, that Polydamas crushed him, and he missed him, for Apollo would not suffer the son of Pancus, the fallen battle, and asserted Crisius, and the middle of his chest, whereon he fell heavily to the ground, and Meges stripped him of his armor, and then owing to the young soldier, Delas, son of Lampus, sprang upon him Lampus, who was the son of Leonidon, and noted for his valor, while his son Delas was versed in all ways of war. He struck the middle son of Amphialus, shield with his spear. Setting on him the close quarters, but his good horseman made with plates of metal saved him. They said, Rise from Epira, and the river Elias, who had his host, King Epicus. had given to him and went away and Athens overtaken. And now served to save the life of the son. Then Megas struck the topmost crest of the lost bronze helmet with his spear and tore away his horsehair, so that all knew he died in scarlet, as it was tumbled down into the dust. While he was still glancing in confidence of victory, Menelaus came up to help Megas and got by the side of the lost unperceived. He then spread him in the shoulder from behind, and the point, driven severely, went through into his chest, whereon he fell headlong. The two men made swords and stripped him of his armor, and Hector bore on his brother's for help. And he especially upbraided great Menelaus, son of Hecaton, who erewhile used the patch for distress of cattle and Pyrgos before the war broke out. But when the ships of the Danaans came, he went back to Ilium, where he was eminent among the Trojans, and lived near Priam. He treated him as one of his own sons. Hector now rebuked him and said, Why, Menelaus, are we thus remiss? Do you take no note of death of your kinsmen, and do you not see how they are trying to take the lost armor? Follow me. There must be a fighting the Argives from a distance now, but we must do so in close combat, so either we kill them, or they take the high wall of Ilium and slay their people. He led on as he spoke, and the hero Menelaus followed after. Meanwhile, Ajax, son of Telamon, is cheering on the Argives. My friends, he cried, be men and fear dishonor, who yourselves in battle, so as to win respect from one another. Men who respect each other's good opinion are less likely to be killed than those who do not. That implies there is neither gain nor glory. Thus did he exhort men who were already bent upon driving back the Trojans. They laid his words to heart and pinched the ships as a wall of bronze, while Zeus urged on the Trojans. Menelaus on the loud battle cry urged Antilochus on. Antilochus, he said, You are young, and there is none of the Athenians more fleet of foot or more valiant than you are. See if you cannot spring upon some Trojan and kill him. He hurried away when he had thus heard Antilochus, who at once darted out from the front ranks and aimed a spear after looking carefully round him. The Trojans fell back as he threw, and darted did not speed, for his hand looked out of effect. For it struck Menelaus, the proud son of Hecaton, and the grass by the middle as he was coming forward, and his armor sprang rattling round him as he fell heavily to the ground. Antilochus sprang upon him as a dog springs on a fawn, which a hunter has hit as it was striking away from its quiver, and killed it. Even so, O Menelaus, did stalwart Antilochus spring upon you to strip you of your armor, but noble Hector marked him, and came running up to him through the thick of the battle. Antilochus, brave soldier though he was, would not stay to face him, but fled like some savage creature which knows it has done wrong, and flees of men who can gather to attack. Even so did the son of Nestor fly, and the Trojans and Hectors with pride and rest the air showered their weapons after him, nor did he turn around and stay his flight till he had reached his comrades. The Trojans' fierce lions were still rushing on towards the ships, in fulfillment of the behest of Zeus, who kept steering them on to new deeds of daring, while he then encouraged the Argives and appeased them by encouraging the Trojans, for he meant giving glory to Hector son of Priam, and letting him throw fire upon the ships, so he had fulfilled the righteous prayer that Thetis had made him. Zeus therefore reminded this time, so he should see the flaring of a blazing ship from the hour he was about so to order that the Trojans should be driven back in the ships, and to vouchsafe glory to the Phrygians. With this purpose he inspired Hector, son of Priam, who was eager not already to sail the ships. His fury was that of Pyrgos, whereas when the fire is raging and he blades of some dense forest upon the mountains, he foamed at the mouth, his eyes glare under his terrible eyebrows, and his color quivered of his temples by reason of the fury with which he fought. The Zeus from heaven was with him, and though he was one against many, vouchsafed him victory and glory, for he was doomed to an early death, and already Pallas Athena was hurrying an hour of his destruction at the hands of the son of Peleus. Now, however, he kept trying to break the ranks of the enemy wherever he could see them in the goodliest armor, but do what he might, he could not break through them, for they stood as a tower or square or as some high cliff rising from the great sea that raised the anger of the gale, and of the waves of thunder up against it. He fell upon them like flames of fire from every quarter. As when the wave raised mountain high by wind and storm breaks over a ship and covers its even foam, the fierce winds roar against the mast. The hearts of the sailors fail them for fear, and they are safe, but die of very little from destruction. Even so were the hearts of the Athenians faintly within them, or as a savage lion attacking a herd of cows while they are feeding by thousands in a low-lying meadows at some wide-watered shore. The herdsman is at his wits' end how to protect his herd, and keeps going about, now in the van, and now in the rear of his cattle, while the lion springs in the thick of them, fastens on a cow, so that they all tremble for fear. Even so were the Athenians utterly panic-stricken by Hector and father Zeus. Nevertheless, Hector only killed Periphetes of Messenia. He was the son of Coperidas, who wanted to take the orders of King Eurystheus to the mighty Hercules, but the son was a far better man than the father in every way. He was fleet-footed as warrior, and understanding, ranked among the foremost men of Messenia. His was that who then afforded Hector a triumph, for as he was turning back, he stumbled against the rim of the shield, which reached his feet, and served to keep the javelins off him. He tripped against this and fell face forward, his helmet rang loudly about his head as he did so. Hector saw him fall and ran up to him, and then he thrust a spear into his chest and killed him close to his own comrades. But these were all their sorrow, could not help him, for they were themselves terribly afraid of Hector. But they had not reached the ships, and the bows of those that had been drawn up first were all on every side of them, but the Trojans came pouring after them. The Argives were driven back from the first row of ships, but they made a stand by their tents, being broken up and scattered. Shame be restrained of them. They kept shouting incessant things to one another, and Nestor of Grenade, tower of strength to Phrygians, was now loudest in imploring every man by his parents and beseeching him to stand firm. My friends, he cried, and respect one another's good opinion. Think all of you on your children, your wives, your property, and your parents, whether these be alive or dead, on their behalf, though they are not divine for you to stand firm and not to turn back. With these words he put heart and soul into them all. Athena lifted the thick veil of darkness from their eyes, and much light fell upon them. Alive on the side of the ships, on that where the flag was raging, they could see Hector and all his men, both these in the rear who were taking no part in the battle, and those who were fighting on the ships. Ajax could not bring himself to retreat, along with the rest, but strode from deck to deck with a great sea spike in his hand, 12 cubits long and 20 rings, as a man skilled in feats of horsemanship couple swore horses together, comes carrying full speed along the public way from the country into some large town. Many of the men and women marvel as they see him, for he keeps all the time changing his horse, springing from one to another, without ever missing his feet while the horses are at gallop. Even so, the prefect was striding from one ship's deck to another, and his voice went out of the heavens. He kept on shouting his orders to the nines, and exhorting us that other ships and neither did Hector remain with the main body of the Trojan warriors, but as a tongue eagle swoops down upon a flock of wild fowl, feeding them river geese and maybe, or cranes or long-necked swans. Even so did Hector make straight for a dark-browed ship, rushing right towards it, for Zeus, but his mighty hand had held him forward and roused his people to follow him. In that battle again raged fiercely at the ships. You would have thought that the men were coming on fresh and weary, so fiercely did they fight, and this was the mind in which they were. The Phoenicians did not believe they should escape destruction, that thought themselves doomed, while there was not a Trojan that his heart beat too high, but the hope of fire in the ships and putting the Phoenician heroes to the sword. Thus were the two sides minded. Then Hector seized the stern of the good ship that had brought Iliad to Troy, but never brought him back to his native land. Round the ship there raged a close hand-to-hand fight between the Dons and Trojans. They did not fight at a distance with bows and javelins, but one mind had to have one another in close combat. Their mighty swords and spears pointed at both ends. They fought moreover with the keen battle axes and with hatchets. Many a good stout blade hilted. The scabbard of iron fell from hand or shoulder as they fought, and the earth ran red with blood. Hector, when he had seized the ship, would not lose his hold, but held on his curve, stirring and shouted to the Trojans, "Bring fire and raise battle cry, all of you with a single voice. Now has Zeus vouchsafed us a day that will pay us for all the rest. This day we shall take the ships, which can hinder against the heaven's will, and will have caused us such immense suffering through the cowardice of our counselors, who, when I would have done battle at the ships, held me back and forbade the host to follow me. And Zeus did, and then indeed, war took against himself. Now call names, me, and choose me on, as he spoke thus the Trojans sprang, and yet more fiercely on the Phoenicians, and Ajax no longer held his ground, for he was overcome by the darts that were flung at him, and made sure that he was doomed. Therefore he left the race that got stern, and sank back onto the 7-foot bench of horsemen. Here he stood on the lookout, with a spear held back, and he Trojan, whom he saw springing back fire to the ships. All the time, he kept on shouting at the top of his voice and jerking the knives. My friends, he cried, the non-hero servants of Ares, be men, my friends, and fight in with vain. Can we hope to find helpers hereafter, or a wall to shield us, or surely that the one we have? There is no strong city with Ares. Once we made his law, our forces, and from his hails in our favor, we are armed, land armed, Trojans, with the sea behind us, and far from our own country on salvation, therefore the might of our hands and our fighting. As he spoke, he wielded the spear of so great the fury, and when all many Trojans made towards the ships with fire at Hector's video, so he made the fire from him and drive at him with his long spear, and take us still hand-to-hand fight before the ships.
Bleach.
Book 15, Iliad. Fire being now fled on the ship from Patroclus, Dice, and army of Achilles, each has the Trojans back, but he was in the end killed by their foremost and Hector. But thus did they fight, but at the ship of Atlas-Atman, 2 years of Achilles, with tears welling from his eyes, as from some spring, whose crystal stream falls over the ledges of a high precipice. When Achilles saw them thus weeping, he was sorry for them, and said, "Why, Patroclus, do you stand there weeping like some silly child that comes running to her mother, and begs to be taken up and carried? She catches hold of her mother's breast, staying her, though she is in a hurry, and moves tearfully up until her mother carries her. Even such tears,
they have a widow?
Have you anything to say to your parents, or so yourself? Or have you had news from Iliad, which you alone know? They tell me that Otis, son of Actor, is still alive, as also Helios, son of Helios, son of or are you crying and grieving about the Argonauts and the way in which they are now being killed at the ships? Through their own high-handed doings, do not hide anything from me, but tell me that both of us may know that. But then, who back at deep side, you say, Achilles, son of Helios, almost can't do things. Do not be angry, but I wait for the disaster that has now befallen the Argonauts. All those who have been the champions so far are lying at the ships, wounded by sword or spear. Brave Juno, son of Atlas, has been hit with a spear, while brave Odysseus and Agamemnon have received sword wounds. Eurypylus, again, has been struck with an arrow in the thigh. Oh, including them of their wounds. Phineas, son of Atlas, made them gain a their passion, as you have done, to the pain of the day, who in the future story will speak out as you have said, even if the demon rest, was under the repeats for other. But the grace he bore you and the sheep that speak on you, so to know no smell on you, that under the evil combat, knowledge is horrible, or the way Jesus has told you something from Moses, at least some of the enemy of things with me, that I may bring deliverance.
Soldiers coming in.
Which I am eating, nor has my mother told me anything than after Zeus, that I am cut to the very heart that one of my own rank should dare to rob me because he is more powerful than I am. This, after all that I have gone through, is more than I can endure. The girl whom the sons of the Phoenicians choose for me, whom I won as the fruits of my spear, on having sacked a city. Her, for me, her has King Agamemnon, take it from me as though I were some common vagrants. Still, let bygones be bygones, no man may keep his hand in the air. I say, I would not relent till as on the cry of war have reached my own ships. Nevertheless, now gird my armor around your shoulders and lead the Myrmidons to battle. When the battle with the Trojans had first previously over our fleet, the Argives are driven back onto these trooped within a narrow space, and the whole people of Troy has taken part to sally against them. Because they see that visor of my guns gleaming near them, had they seen as there would not have been a free movement that had not been filled with their dead as they fled back again, and so would have been that only came from among, and would look fairly by me. As it is, the Trojans have decided to keep us in the ideas. No longer witness the spirit of the mountains. It is an opportunity to stop your fears. Whereas the murders to as I now beg you that you may win me big honor from all the nuns, and that they can show the world to me again, and make you gifts to come back. Will you have the importance of purchase? Come back to the reach. Do not make a true story my actions, or you will rob me of my glory that should be mine, and do not divorce the back of those who come and show these dirty appearances on telling you, lest all the living God from all of this attack you, for who is Apollo, what's an opportunity, and who is you, and the individual, and the way, please use to be my accomplice, and I'll see what I know, for it is not the other life, or yes, all right, but that we do my well, guys, guess what? They have a bad
well, they have 2 snipers, so that's one thing. Wow. And she rests with 2 features. Holy I was above the
Alright, let's just grip it up. Let's push them from left.
Time to raise my feet again. Thank you. Enemy turret ahead.
turn me down.
Loading turret, forward shield.
Come on.
Alright, main priority is that back. It was
but their long thin tongues and their reap up blood and slaughtered, even enough appeared its greatest hunger last night. Even so did the leader of the councilors of Myrmidons gather around the good squire of the fleet to because, and among us stood Achilles himself, cheering on both men and horses. 50 ships had rebelled Achilles round Troy, and each of there was a crew of 50 oarsmen. Over these he set 5 captains, who equally trust. Achilles himself, and I remember them all. Then as the rest of the but he was close and Morris, son of Arius, who his mother was living as he is with it black. But we gave a great to anger. The same thing was like Morris, Simon's and unwanted woman, all the out, after the palace, and he did a great after the one young Maggie's favorite outdoors. Also, this morning,
Discord. Turn it down. Oh, come on.
one of the 10 split.
Wait, isn't the freaking Bastion ult already?
Yeah, I killed him first, but then he came back.
would say your mother must have sold you all ball, so we put all you. You keep us here at the ship against
Yes, John, I'm gonna follow you.
Did I charge you?
Yeah, I got 4 kills.
Rations down.
I just killed the Hanzo, but okay.
My servants never die.
Because he...
What is this?
Really? How is he there?
Oh, we have time for one more push or two. I don't know.
Enemy turret ahead.
I've almost got my ult.
Keep ulting. Those 2 sentries always ult.
Alright guys, I've got my ult. Let's just regroup. Everybody, let's just regroup.
What we do need to do is take out that Mercy if anything. Mercy down! Mercy down!
We're not here.
Come on!
Meanwhile, the Honda band that was at Atlas much on, so they sprang high until the Honda Trojans. They came swarming out like blast, but whose next on the roadside, and whose children loved keys. I wonder whatever happens to be passing maybe some more.
Alright guys, it's time for us to play campers now.
Every loss will come flying out with a very good battle. Even the Asian version of Myrmidons swarm from the ships, and their cry of battle rose heavywards. Patrick was pulled on as his knife on his voice. Myrmidons fought to Achilles, some fellows demon my friends fight with knife of May, and we may be glory for some fellows. Who is fond of the foremost matches.
Yes, Mercy.
All we want is them not even touching the one, focusing on one of us.
We want to run if anyone can play that.
Roadhog.
Please get a Reinhardt.
Thank you.
There we go. All we need is that back.
Bastard or soldier? Let's go.
I'll be busy soon enough.
Right here. I think you went AFK. I think you went AFK. Of course he did.
Oh no, he's here. Send go soldier. Or bastard.
Want me to go soldier?
Yeah.
What about like everyone wants to one?
Or who?
Back for soldier. Alright, people, we got this. Wow, where did you put that?
Or just like feather spawn. Just like get
Patroclus and Lycon now met in close fight, where they had each other with 2 spears. They had no swing without effect. So now they drew their swords. Lycon started to press on the Atlas. Atlas drew the sword from the hill. Atlas was no Lycon, never would hear. The blade sank so deep that ahead was held on by nothing but the skin, and there was no more.
I don't think that's a good idea to push on them now.
Let's fall back.
Among the white bones and snatching them up. His teeth were all over him like that, and the blood came rushing down a stream from both his eyes. It also came gurgling up from his mouth and nostrils. The darkness of death enfolded him round about. Thus did these chieftains of the Danons issue from his neck, like raging wolves to seize on their lands, passing it on them while they are alone on the hillsides, and have restrained from the main flock for the carelessness of the shepherd. And when the wolves succeeded this account, on them at once because they can't find themselves, even so did the Danon have all the prudence who played in the cries.
Reaper's in that building over there. Watch him, he's right by you, Reinhardt. Shoot! How do you get in there? Teleport?
Where is that? Nice up.
With their cries of panic and wrath, the air was darkened with clouds of dust. They raised the horses trained everywhere. After this passed eating his horses, where the sun was flying in confusion, shooting on his men for a while. Chariots were being smashed in all directions, and many a man came tumbling down.
Alright, I got teleporter.
There's an old stealing body by Stepelius, swinging over the trench. He was taking time to get near Peter, who he had set his heart on steering him, but Peter's horse was now hurrying him away. As the whole over the bows, the horse was up and down, and Zeus raised the targets of Finnish men for getting quick quickly, and the horse, and dropped the rest of his from. They had gained an increase of tension, all others were falling strong care, and many new fan lines that war had long prevents in the dark sea, and with very still the works of men, even so with the strength of the forces in their right, and the now islands that were near some of the broken ships. They were doing their best to reach the city, and go down on them between the arms of the wall. Many a fallen comrade did even avenge. First he had thrown us with a spear on the chest, where
You guys want the teleporter or shield generator?
Shield generator.
We were still sitting on up in his chariot, for he had lost his head in the reins and had been torn out of his hands. Patroclus went up to him and drove a spear into his right jaw. He thus looked at him, went to him by the teeth, and speared him over the rim of his car, as one who sits at the end of some cutting rock, and draws a shot over the sea above the line. Even so,
Oh my god.
he then threw him down on his face and get out of our hole. On this end, here us, there was no longer attack him, let him fall on the head with a stone, and his brains rolled after inside his helmet.
Behind you.
How did he catch up with me?
We tossed the ground also. The two men lashed at one another with loud cries like evil beings quick angry vultures that screamed and tear at one another in some high mountain fastness. The son of Stephen Cronus looked down upon them in pity and said to Hera, who was with his wife, and said, alas, that it should be the loss of Sabadon. I love to hear the Hera shot came back to us. I am 2 miles away the question that I was and Hera answered no good son of Cronus. What is it that you are saying?
Reinhardt, Reaper, and Mercy are to the right. Yeah, right where you are.
I say further and lay my saying to your heart that using Sargon's aid to his own home, so other of the gods will be I do make everyone know but as soon as the life is gone out of considered death and sweet sleep, there they offer people and changes the broad lands of Messia, where his brothers and his kinsmen will bury him with mound and pillar in new honor to the dead. The sire of gods and men assented, that he shed a rain of blood upon the earth in honor of his son, whom Patroclus was about to kill from the rich plain of Troy far from his own. When they were now composed of one another, Patroclus struck Rhasidimus, the brave squire of Sargon, in the lower part of the belly and killed him. Sargon, the name of Spear, Patroclus and missed him, but he struck the horse of Pedasus, and to the right shoulder and screamed aloud as it lay rolling into dozens of black inhabited. The two horses he gave the the whole chariot cracked and they got in the reins, through all the house and yielded along with him, the ultimate on, knew what to do without the loss of the moments he threw keen weight, nothing about his sturdy thigh, they cut the third horse to go from all the other two right themselves, and holding down the reins, again, went together in the battle, saw it out, and Patroclus, and went in mission, that both of the spear passed over his left shoulder, back to him, Patroclus then came in his hand, and Caesar said, not from his hand,
swear I hear Reaper behind this.
surrounds the
Mercy low. Jesus in the regenerate though.
As when the lions raged with the lion upon the herd of cattle and passing on a great battle, John filling its pleasures, even so the leader of the lightning, the warrior struggling down as he fell and Atlas, he could not assert power of Atlas. My brother drew on heroes to go and strength back in our game.
But Reinhardt moved on the to the right.
At the same time, Carmine Mirabans, the shorty steeds who were wild with pain and finding themselves to drink by doors. Atlas was overcome with grief when he heard what Scotland said. For he could not help him. He had his first armor with his other hand, gaining great pain through the wound Shotty's arrow had hidden him. With his hand was defending the wall as he Atlas was assailing his head. He praised the far mounting of all, saying, "Hear me, O king of your seas, maybe in the land of Lancashire, or maybe in Troy, or in all places you can hear the prayer of one who is in stress, as I am now. I have a grief too, my hand is beating with pain, and every bit touching the blood, and my whole arm right side is my person, I can't grasp my sword, nor go on the top of it, and find them. The law prince, Jesus' son, talking on this land, Jesus, and not the son, be you that golden king, kill me by the name.
We put Reinhardt first on right.
Oh, frick you, dude.
Try to get off the point, try to get on the point.
Heroes never.
Seriously? What are we doing?
He was infuriated by the Apollo's Abaddon. They made instantly put demands. Apollo died, while the mountain spirits of Atlas, son of Aeotus, cheered on the wings, first he spoke to eight actions, and then immediately on the one hand, and the Myrmidons, the Pupians on the other, strengthened their battalions, and fought desperately out by its Abaddon, shouting fiercely while Matthew was the dead of their armor, as they came together, and Zeus shed a thick darkness over the fight and increased the spoil of the battle over the body of the sun. At first the Trojans made some headway against the Pupians, one of the best men among the Myrmidons was killed at Iliad, son of the noble Megacles, who had erewhile been king in the good city of Buduan, but presently having killed a valiant kinsman of his own, he took refuge about Peleus and Thetis, who sent him to Ilium, the land of noble steeds that fight the Trojans and Achilles, and Hector now struck him on the head with a stone just as he caught hold of the body, and his veins inside his helmet were all after him, so that he fell face foremost upon the body of Sarpedon, and there died. Atlas was enraged by the death of his comrade, and sped through the front ranks as swiftly as a hawk that swoops down on a flock that does of starlings, and even so swiftly, O noble knight, Patroclus, did you make straight the Lycians and Trojans that avenged your comrade, forthwith you struck Stephanos, the son of Epaenes, on the neck of a stone, and broke his tendons that joined his head and spine. On this Hector, in the front rank of his men, gave ground as far as a man, and Progeaman, when competing for some prize, or even battle. So far, the Trojans after treatment of the Libyans, Glaucus, captain of the Lycians, was the first to rally them by killing Macrocles, son of Chalcon, who lived in Hellas and was the richest man among the Myrmidons. Glaucus turned down suddenly just as Macrocles, who was pursuing things that after laid hold of him, and drove his spear right into the middle of his chest, whereon he fell, heavily to the ground and full. Glaucus, so good a man, filled the Pupians with his neck. While the Trojans were exultant, and came up in a body round the corpse. Nevertheless, the Pupians, mindful of their vows, bore straight down upon them. Meronius then killed a helmed warrior of the Trojans, Laodamas, son of Auditor, who was priest of Zeus of Mount Ida, and was honored by the people as though he were a god. Meronius struck him under the jaw and ear, so that life went out of him, and the darkness of death lay all upon him. Aeneas, the name of the spear, Meronius, holding him, set him under the shield as he was advancing, but Meronius saw throwing his feet forward to avoid it, whereon the spear flew past him, and the point struck the ground on the and went on quivering to Perseus, rubbed it up his horse. The spear therefore struck Meronius' hand in the vein, fell quivering to the ground. Aeneas was angry and said, Meronius, you are a good dancer, I have given you your spear would soon have made an end for you. And Meronius answered, Aeneas, for your bravery, you will not be able to make an end of everyone who comes against you. You are only a mortal like myself, and if I were to hit you in the middle of your shield with my spear, however strong and self-confident you may be, I should soon vanquish you, and you would yield your life at ease of the noble steeds. On this son of Aeotus rebuked him and said, Meriones, hero though you may be, you should not speak thus. Taunting speeches, my good friend, will not make the Trojans draw away from their dead body. Some of them must go underground first, blows for battle and words for counsel, fight therefore and say nothing. He led the way as he spoke, and the hero went forward with him, as the sound of the woodcutters in some forest lay upon the mountains, and the thud of their axes is heard afar. Even such a din now rose from earth, flash of bronze armor and good ox-hide shields as men smote each other with their swords and spears pointed at both ends. A man had need of good eyesight now to know Sarpedon, so covered was he from head to foot with spears and blood and dust, and swarmed about the body as flies that buzz round the full milk hills in spring when they are brimming with milk. Even so did they gather round Sarpedon, nor did Zeus turn his keen eyes away for one moment from the fight, but kept looking at it all the time, for he was settling how best to kill Patroclus, and considering whether Hector should be allowed to end him out in the fight, round the body of Sarpedon. down and strip him of his armor, for whether he should let him give further trouble to the Trojans. In the end, he deemed it best that the great squire of Achilles, son of Peleus, should drive Hector and the Trojans back towards the city and take the lives of many. First, therefore, he made Hector turn faint-hearted, thereon he mounted his chariot and fled, bidding the other Trojans fly also, for he saw the scales of Zeus had turned against them. Neither would the brave Lycians stand firm. They were dismayed when they saw their king flying, struck to the heart, and made up the forces. Whom the son of Cronus made the fires wax hot, and he had fallen above him. The Trojans therefore stripped the gleaming armor from his shoulders, and the great son of Aeotus gave it to him, his men, his his ships. But then Zeus, lord of the storm cloud, said, Apollo, dear Phoebus, I go, I pray you, and take Sarpedon out of the range of the weapons, cleanse the black blood from off him, and then bear him a long way off, where you may wash him in the river, and rinse him up ambrosia, and clothe him in immortal raiments. This then commit him to the arms of the two police messengers, Death and Sleep, who will carry him straightway to the rich man of Lycia, where his brothers and kinsmen will inter him, and will raise both man and pillar to his memory, and do honor to the dead. Thus he spoke. Apollo obeyed his father's saying, and came down from the heights of Ida into a thick fight. Forthwith he took Sarpedon out to the range of weapons, and then bore him a long way off, where he washed him in the river, anointed him with ambrosia, and clothed him in immortal raiments. This done, he committed him to arms to two police messengers, Death and Sleep, who presently set him down in the rich land of Lycia. Meanwhile, Patroclus, with many a chance his horses into the Atlas-Atman, pursued the Trojans and Mycenaeans in the pride and foolishness of his heart. Had he could obey the bidding of the son of Peleus, he would have escaped death, and have been escapeless. But the counsels of Zeus past man's understanding, he will put even a brave man to flight, and snatch victory from his grasp, or again will set him on to fight, as he now did when he put a high spirit into the heart of Patroclus, who then first and who last was slain by you, O Patroclus, when the gods had now all you to meet your doom. First Adrastus, Autonos, Elyclus, Paramus, and the son of Megas, Ephistor, and Melanopetus. After these he put Elaxus, Melianus, and Pyloracus. And there he slew, but the rest saved themselves by flight. The sons of Grecians would now have taken Troy by the hands of Patroclus, for his spear flew in all directions, and not Phoebus Apollo taking his hand against the wall to appease his purpose into 8 Trojans. Thrice did Patroclus charge at an angle of the high wall, and thrice did Apollo beat him back, striking his shield with his own immortal hands. When Patroclus was coming on like a god for yet a 4th time, Apollo shouted to him with an awful voice and said, Draw back, noble Patroclus, it is not worthy lost to sack the city of the Trojan chieftains, nor yet will it be that of Achilles, who is far better man than you are. On hearing this, Patroclus withdrew to some distance and avoided anger of Apollo. Meanwhile, Hector was waiting with his horses inside the stadion gates, in doubt whether to drive out again and go on fighting, or to call an army inside the gates. As he was thus doubting, Phoebus Apollo drew near him in the likeness of a young and lusty warrior, asked these thus, who was Hector's uncle, own brother to Hecuba, and son of Dymas, who lived from Pyrrhia, but the waters of the river from Boreas. In likeness Zeus, son of Apollo, now spoke to Hector, saying, Hector, why have you left off fighting? It is ill done of you, that I were as much better a man than you as I am worse. You should soon rue your slackness, drive straight towards Patroclus, if so be that Apollo may grant you a triumph over him, and you may rule him. With this, that the gods went back into the early lordly, and Hector bade Ceremonius drive again into the fight. Apollo passed in among them. The sword panic into Argives, but he gave triumph to Hector and the Trojans. Hector led the other Danons alone and killed no man, who rode straight at Patroclus. Patroclus then sprang from his chariot to the ground, with a spear in his left hand, and his right a jagged stone as large as hand could hold. He stood still, and threw his noisy bow far without hitting someone. The cast was not in vain, for the stone struck Ceremonius, Hector's charioteer, bastard son of Priam. As he held the reins in his hands, the stone hit him on the forehead and drove his elbows, his brows into the head, for the bone was smashed, and his eyes fell to the ground at his feet. He fell to death in the chariot, as though he were diving, and there were no more life left in him. Over him did you then go on to overnight Patroclus, saying, Bless my heart, how active he is, and how well he drives. If we had been at sea, this fellow would have died from the ship's back and brought up as many oysters as the whole crew could stomach, even in wet water, for he has dived beautifully off of the chariot onto the ground. It seems then that there are divers also among the Trojans. As he spoke, he flung himself on Ceremonius with the spring, as it were, of a lion, that while attacking a stockyard is himself struck in the chest, and his courage is his own bane. Even so furiously, O Patroclus, did he then spring upon Ceremonius. Hector sprang also from his chariot to the ground, but there then fought over the body of Ceremonius, as 2 lions fought fiercely on some high mountain over the body of a stag that they had killed. Even so did these 2 mighty warriors, Patroclus, son of Aeotus, and brave Hector, hacking at each other over the course of Ceremonius. Hector would not let him go, and had once got him by the head, while Patroclus kept fast hold of his feet, and had a fierce fight raged between the other Danons and Trojans. As the east and south men affect one another, but they based upon some dense forest on the mountains, there is speech and action straight poured out. The top of the trees roar as they beat on one another, and one can hear the bows cracking and breaking. Even so, the Trojans and Etruscans spring upon one another and lay about each other, and neither side would give way. Many a pointed spear fell to the ground, and many a winged arrow sped from his bow string upon the body of Ceremonius. Many a great stone, moreover, become many a shield as they cut around his body, but then he lay in the whirling clouds of dust, all huge and ugly, headless of his driving now. So long as the sun was still high in mid-heaven, the weapons of either side were alike deadly, and the people fell, but one who went down towards the time when men loosed their oxen, the Etruscans proved to be beyond all forecast stronger. So he drew Ceremonius out of the range of the darts, and almost the Trojans, and stripped the armor from his shoulders. Then Patroclus ran like Ares, with fierce intent and a terrific shout upon the Trojans, and priest thrice did he kill 9 men. But as he was coming on like a god for a time, then Patroclus was out of your and approaching, for Phoebus thought even felt earnest. Patroclus did not see him as he moved about in the fresh, for he was entrapped in thick darkness, and the god struck him from behind on his back and his broad shoulders, with the flat of his hand, so that the eyes turned dizzy. Phoebus Apollo beats the helmets from off his head, and it rolled rattling off under the horse's feet, where his horse hair plums were all begrimed with dust and blood. Never indeed had that helmet fared so before, for it had served to protect the head and bony forehead of the godlike hero Achilles. Now, however, Zeus delivered it over to be worn by Hector. Nevertheless, the end of Hector also was near. The wrong shot spear, so great and so strong, was broken in the hand of Patroclus, while his shield that covered him from head to foot fell to the ground, as they also also the band that held it, and Apollo amid the fastenings of the sportsmith. On this his mind became clouded, his thin skeleton, and he stood on the days, but not Euryphorbus, son of Panthus, and the Dardanian, the best spearman of his time, as also the finest horseman and fleetest runner, came behind him and struck him the back of a spear, midway between the shoulders. This man, as soon as ever he had come up with his chariots, had dismounted 20 men so proficient was he in all the arts of war. It was the knight Patroclus the first who drove a weapon into you, but he did not quite overpower you. Here for a voice, then ran back into the crowd after drawing his ashen spear out of the wound. He would not stand firm and wait for Patroclus along, though he now was to attack him, but Patroclus unnerved the life by the blow the god had given him, and by the spear wound him to be wounded, and giving man forced his way through the ranks, and when close up with him struck him in the lower part of the belly, with the spear driving the bronze point right through it, so that he fell heavily to the ground to the great grief of the Pythians. As when a lion has caught some fierce wild boar and worsted him, the two fight furiously upon the mountains of some little fountain, at which they would both drink, and the lion has beaten the boar till he can hardly breathe. Even so did Hector son of Priam take the life of the brave son of Meneuctus, who had killed so many, striking him from close at hand and vaunting over him the while. Patroclus said he, you deem that you should sack our city, rob our Trojan women of their freedom, and carry them off in the ships of your own country. Fool, Hector and his sweet voices were ever straining their utmost to defend them. I am foremost of all the Trojan warriors to save the day of bondage from off them. As for you, vulture, shall devour you here, for wretched Achilles, with his brave grief availed you nothing, and yet, at when you left him, he charged you straightly, saying, come not back to the ships tonight, Patroclus, till you have surrendered the blood-stained shirt of murderous Hector, about to throw his body. Thus I winged if he charge you, and your fool's heart answered him, yea, within you. But then has the life, and out of you answered no knight, Patroclus Hector, belongs as you will, for his use the son of Cronus, and Apollo had vouchsafed you victory. It is they who have vanquished me so easily, they who have stripped the armor from my shoulders, have 20 such men, as you attacked me, all of them would have fallen before my spear, facing the son of Lex who had overpowered me, and among mortal men, therefore voice, you harm yourself very only in killing me. I say further and lay my saying to your heart, you too shall live, but for a little season, death and the day of your doom are close upon you, and they will lay low by the hand of Achilles, son of Aeacus. When he had thus spoken, his eyes were closed in death, and his soul left his body, and fled down to the house of Hades, mourning his sad face, and died bidding farewell to the youth and vigor of his manhood. Dead though he was, Hector still spoke to him, saying, Patroclus, why should he thus foretell my doom? Who knows that Achilles, son of loving Theseus, may be smitten by my spear, and die before me? As he spoke, he drew the bronze spear from the wound, planting his foot upon the body, which he thrust off, and let lie on its back. He then once the spear in hand, after Archimedon, squire of the fleet descendant of Aeacus, or he longed to lay him low, but immortal steeds, which the gods had given as a rich gift, but Peleus bore him swiftly from the field. Book 17, the Iliad, the life around the body of Patroclus. Brave Menelaus, son of Atreus, who now came to know that Patroclus had fallen, and made his way through the front ranks, clad in full armor, to bestride him. As a cow stands lowing over her first calf, even so the yellow-haired Menelaus bestride Patroclus. He held his round shield and his spear in front of him, resolute to kill anyone who should dare face him. But the son of Pericles had also noted the body, and came up to Menelaus, saying, Menelaus, son of Atreus, draw back, leave the body, and let the blood-stained spoils be. I was the first of the Trojans, and their great allies, to drive my spear into Patroclus. Let me, therefore, have my full glory among the Trojans, or I will take aim and kill you. To this Menelaus answered in great anger, our father Zeus, boasting is an ill thing. The hart is not more bold, nor the lion, nor savage, wild boar, which is fiercest and most dauntless of all creatures, than on the proud sons of Panthus. If Hyperenor did not see out the days of his youth, when he made light of me, and withstood me, deeming me the meanest soldier among the Danaans, his own feet never bore him back, save grabbing his wife and parents. Even so shall I make an end of you too, if you withstand me. Get you back into the crowd, and do not face me, or it shall be worse for you. Even a fool may be wise after the event. Euryphorbus would not listen, and said, Now indeed, Menelaus, shall you pay for the death of my brother, over whom you vaunted, and whose wife you widowed in her bridal chamber. While you brought grief unspeakable on his parents, I shall comfort these poor people, if I bring you your head and armor, and place them in the hands of Panthus and noble Phrontis. Time is come, when this matter shall be fought out and settled, for me or against me. As he spoke, he struck Menelaus, full on shield, but the spear did not go through, for the shield turned its point. Menelaus eventually came praying to Father Zeus. As he did so, Euryphorbus was drawing back, and Menelaus struck him about the roots of his throat, leaning his whole weight on the spear, so as to drive it home. The point went clean through his neck, and his armor ran rattling round him, as he fell heavily to the ground. His hair, which was like that of the Graces, and his locks so deftly bound in bands of silver and gold, were all bedraggled with blood, as one who has grown a fine young olive tree in a clear space, where there is abundance of water. The plant is full of promise, and though the winds beat upon from every quarter, it puts forth its white blossoms, till the blast of some fierce hurricane swoops down upon it and level it with the ground. Even so did Menelaus strip the fair youth Euryphorbus of his armor after he had slain him, or as some fierce lion upon the mountains in the pride of his strength fastens on the finest heifer in a herd as it is feeding. First he rakes her neck with his strong jaws, and then gorges on her blood and entrails. Dogs and shepherds raise a hue and cry against him, but they stand aloof and will not come close to him, for they are pale with fear. Even so, no one had the courage to face valiant Menelaus, the son of Atreus, would have then carried off the armor of the son of Panthus. With ease had not Phoebus Apollo been angry, and in the guise of Menezes, chief of the Sicyones, incited Hector to attack him. Hector, said he, you are now going after the horses of the noble son of Aeacus, but you will not take them. They cannot be kept in hand and driven by mortal man, save only by Achilles, who is son to a mortal mother. Meanwhile, Menelaus, son of Atreus, bestrided the body of Patroclus, had killed the noblest of the Trojans, Eurobus, son of Panthus, soon as he can fight no more. The god then went back into the toil and turmoil, but the soul of Hector was darkened with a cloud of grief. He looked along the ranks inside Eurobus, lying on the ground with the blood still flowing from his wound, and Menelaus stripping him of his armor, on as he made his way to the front like a flame of fire clad in his gleaming armor, and crying a loud voice. When the son of Putreus heard him, he said to himself in his dismay, Alas, what shall I do? I may not let the Trojans take the armor of Patroclus, who has fallen fighting on my behalf, lest the sons of Non, who sees me, should cry shame upon me. Still, for my honor's sake, I fight Hector and the Trojans. Single-handed, they will prove to win for me, for Hector is bringing them up in force. Why, however, should I thus hesitate? When a man fights in the side of heaven with one whom a god befriends, he will soon rue it. Let no deny and kill me if I give points at Hector, for the hand of heaven is with him. Yet if I could find Ajax, the two of us would fight Hector and heaven too, lest we not only save the body of Patroclus, or Achilles, son of Peleus. This of many evils would be the last, least. While he was thus in two minds, the Trojans came up to him, at their band, he therefore drew back, and let the body climb up left on the other line, who was in shape like dogs and men, from the stockyard, spears and beaming down, and rockies down, and dismissed softly off. He was certain, and lost his own features, having made the body of Patroclus, went along with the body of his men, he looked around for mighty Ajax, son of Telamon, and presently saw him on the extreme left fight, cheering on his men, exhorting him to keep on fighting, for Phoebus Apollo had spread great panic among them. He ran up to him and said, Ajax, my good friend, come with me at once to dead Patroclus, let so be that we may take the body to Achilles, as for his armor, Hector already has it. These words stirred the hearts of Ajax, and he made his way among the front ranks. Menelaus going with him, Hector had stripped Patroclus of his armor and was dragging him away, they cut off his head, he set the body, and the Ajax came up with a shield, like a wall toward him, which Hector drew over the shoulder of his head, and sprang onto his chariots, giving honor over to the Trojans. His Hector said he has a great fool for himself. Ajax therefore covered the body of Patroclus with his broad shield, and destroyed him as a lion stands over his whelps. The hunters have come upon him, and of course, when he is with his little ones, in the pride and fierceness of his strength, he brought his neck furrowed, down till they covered his eyes. Even so did Ajax destroy the body of Patroclus. At this time stood Menelaus, so he was nursing great sorrow in his heart. Then Atlas, son of Philocus, looked fiercely at Hector, and rebuked him saying, Hector said he made a brave show, let him fight. You are sadly wanting a runaway like yourself, has no plan to so great for reputation. Think how you may now save your town and Scythia by the hands of your own people or Iliad.
I suppose I'll be better.
Or you will get no blessings for you, seeing that what the pretext that they have had for the incessant hardships. You will certainly be your destiny so you swallow the so long as he lives, he did good service of your city and yourself. Yet you have no son to save the body from the gods. But the Lycians were to be able to only go into his face. But the Trojans had any of that their Pyrrhus spirit. Was like holy men who are fighting for their country and harassing those who are dead. We should see their Patroclus is Iliad, who we get his head ran away and bring him into the city of Bethlehem. The Argives are to get the armor of them, and they should give their body away. For he who is slain, as we have killed, is the foremost man at the ship of Philippians. He and his close fighting followers. Nevertheless, you carry on a saying against Ajax, or they shall have time, but back all around you, for he is a greater man than you are. Quick as hell, and answer, Blackness. You should know better. I have told you so far as the man of any more understanding than any in all Lycia, and now I despise you for saying that I'm a proof of Ajax. If you recognize that in the phrase, Zeus' will is stronger than ours. Zeus at one time was even stronger than his people should be from his wrath. Well, that's another. He was set in God's fight. Come to me, my friend, stand by me and see me, that I shall play the power of all that. From as you said, the weapon shall not stay. So even on Morris Nations and Hector and Mario Atlas, as he so take all time the tools, so including the lightning that they are in thunders, and twist on at the end of the fight with my friend, while I'm going to do all the things. Atlas. He will take all the time, and as he has said, he will see all the things correct. That has not yet my fault. So he will wrap up our hands to fight, change his arms, and his
What is that sound? Is that like TV on fast mode or something?
What?
The TV is the sound. TV on fast mode. The loud? Oh my god.
That this portentous rouse, and Hector fitted the armor to his body while fearful Ares entered into him, and filled his whole body with life and valor. With a shout, he strode in among the allies, and his armor flashed about him. Soon as the steel over them, like great son of Peleus himself, he went about the warrior, and cheered them on, Metellus, Gallus, Leon, Aristoclus, Exoplus, Olympus, Troas, and Venomous, all these idioms are saying, who may allies from the other cities who are here in your thousands, and it is as not in orders and added power about me, not for you to do. These are the same, but it is not to be after the united words and things. These victories, it is but you, oppress my people, who preclude from countries that make you rich. Therefore, some of the trumpets shall stand before as the game of war. Whoever shall come down from the band of their deviates and hands of Rubens, they shall make Ajax a way forth behind the from one Atlas holes, while they keep others. You will best share that honor myself. When the Atlas living, they charge far away from the eyes, but their spirits are not according. Hopefully, you are like the nation force Ajax, so to you the body, who is the people, who will have to take allies with me. Then Ajax, to the last, then become the last. You might have harvested the last, and gave orders each to his own people as Zeus. Now she takes him power and but he deserved it about the come on, every man and live, and think of shame at time for to be trophies and morsel for trophy hounds. Fleet Ajax, simply as very many first this is where hero river stories share of others that demons are fine entities who are accept the human. The Trojans Hector has in their hand for his body as a great way that
Heroes never die.
Zeus, moreover,
one guy left. The Steve, Tom. That's a Steve.
Yeah, your leader.
What? I left.
At this moment, us, were set as a blame, and leave us, and the zeal for Hector, and true to bring the body off by the foot, through the best of the back, having them at ranks news.
You're the leader, Trump. Oh, am I the leader?
Yeah.
An extra.
His bronze cheek helmet, his struck at once by the spear and by the strong hand of Ajax, so that the bloody brain came oozing out through the breast socket. His strength unfailed him, and he let Patroclus could drop from his hand as he fell full and the dead upon the body. Thus he died far from the fertile land of Larissa, and never repaid his parents the cost of bringing him up, for his life was cut short early by the spear of mighty Ajax. Hector then took aim at Ajax, who was here, but he saw it coming and just managed to avoid it. The spear passed on and struck Sandius, son of noble Ithacus, captain of the Phocians. Whose dwelt into the famed Atlas and reigned over much people. It struck him under the middle of the collarbone, the bronze point went right through him, coming out at the bottom of his shoulder blade, and his armor rang rattling round him as he fell heavily to the ground. Ajax in turn struck him Orcus, son of Aeneas, into the middle of the belly as he was bestriding Philippus, and rode to the plate of his cuirass, whereon the spear tore out his entrails, and he clutched the ground in his palm as he fell to earth, entering those who were in front rank. Then gave ground while the Argives raised a loud cry of triumph, and drew off the bodies of the Orcus and Philippus. They were stripped presently of their armor. The Trojans would now have been worse, fought the great Bucans, and driven back to Ilium through their own cowardice, while the Argives, so great was their courage and endurance, would have achieved a triumph even against the will of Zeus, if Apollo had not roused Aeneas in the likeness of Perithous, son of Epicus, an attendant who had grown old in the service of Aeneas' aged father, and was all times devoted to him. In his likeness of Apollo said, Aeneas knew not manage, even though heaven be against us to save high Ilium. I have known men whose numbers, courage, and self-reliance have saved their people in spite of Zeus, whereas in this case, he would much rather give victory to us than the Danaans. If you would only fight instead of being so thoroughly afraid, Aeneas knew Apollo when he looked straight at him and shouted to Hector, saying, Hector and all other Trojans and allies, shame on us if we are beaten by the Bucans and driven back to Ilium. Through our own cowardice, our God has just come up to me and told me that Zeus, the supreme disposer, will be with us. Therefore let us make the Danaans, that it may go hard with them, ere they bear away the Patroclus to the ships. As he spoke, he sprang out far in front of the others, who then rallied and again faced the Bucans. Aeneas' spear, Leocritus, son of Erismas, a valiant follower of Lycomedes. Lycomedes was moved with pity as he saw him fall. He therefore went close up and speared Atlas-Atman, son of Hippus, shepherd of his people, and delivered under Midrith, so that he died. He had come from fertile Paeonia, and was the best man of them all after Asclepius. Asclepius flew forward to avenge him and attack the Danaans, but his might no longer be, inasmuch as those about Patroclus were well covered by their shields, and held their spears in front of them, for Ajax had given him those strict orders that no man was either to give ground or to stand out before the others, but all were to hold well together about the body and fight hand to hand. Thus the huge Ajax bid them, and the earth ran red with blood, as the forces fell thick on one another on like the side of the Trojans and allies, and on that of the Danaans, for these last two fought no bloodless fight, though many fewer of them perished, through the care of it to defend and stand by one another. Thus did they fight, as it were a flaming fire. It seemed as though it had gone hard, even with the sun and moon, for they were hidden over all the part where the bravest heroes were fighting about the decks of the Orcus, whereas the other Danaans and Bucans fought at their ease in full daylight with brilliant sunshine all around them, and there was not a cloud to be seen, neither on plain nor mountain. But these last, moreover, would rest for a while and leave off fighting, for they were some distance apart and beyond the range of one of his weapons, whereas those who were in the thick of the fray suffered both from battle and darkness, all the best of them were being worn out by the great weight of their armor. But the two valiant heroes, Thrasymedes and Antilochus, had not yet heard of the death of Patroclus, and believed him to still be alive. Being the man against the Trojans, they were keeping themselves in reserve against death or rouse of their own comrades, for so the master had ordered when he sent them from the ships into battle. Thus through the livelong day did they wage fierce war and sweat their toil rained ever on their legs under them, and on their hands and eyes as they fought over the squire of the fleet of St. Elias. It was when a man gives a great ox-hide, all flesh and fat to his men, and bids them stretch it, whereon they stand bound it in a ring, and so till the moisture leaves, and the fat soaks for the minute that paw is and well stretched. Even so the two sides of the dead body hither and thither within the compass of a little space. The Trojans steadfastly set on dragging it into Ilium, while the Bucans were no less so on taking it to their ships. But fierce was the fight between them, not Ares himself, the lord of hosts, nor yet Athena, even in their fullest spirit could make light of such a battle. Such a fearful turmoil of men and horses at Zeus on the day were round the body of Patroclus. Meanwhile Achilles did not know that he had fallen, for the fight was under the wall of Troy, a long way off the ship. He had no idea, therefore, that Patroclus was dead, and deemed that he would return alive as soon as he had gone close up to the gates. He knew that he was not to sack the city, neither with nor without himself, for his mother had often told him this when he had sat alone with her, and she had informed him of the counsels of great Zeus. Now, however, she had not told him how great disaster had befallen him, and the death of one who was far dearest to him of all his comrades. The others still kept on charging one another round the body with their pointed spears and killing each other. Then was the one say, like friends, we can never inch to our faces at the ships, bettering greatly better that earth should open and swallow us here in this place, and that we should let the Trojans have time off bearing off Patroclus to their city. The Trojans also on their part spoke to one another, saying, friends, though we fall to a man besides the body, let no shrink from fighting. With such words they did exhort each other. Their clashing thoughts hand and iron plank rose through the void air, said the brazen vault of heaven. The horses of the descendants of Atlas stood out of the plank, and left the wind. They heard that the driver had been laid low by the hand of murderous Hector, Atlas-Atman, valiant son of Diores, lashed them again and again. Many a time did he speak kindly to them, and many a time did he upbraid them, but they would neither go back to the ships by the waters of the broad Atlas-Atman, nor yet into the battle among the Athenians. They stood with their chariot stopped still, as if they were set over the tomb of some dead man, a woman, and now their heads to the ground, not tears fell from their eyes, as they mourned the loss of their charioteer, and their noble manes drooped all west from their yoke straps. On either side of the yoke, the son of Cronos saw them and took pity upon their sorrow. He wagged his head and muttered to himself, saying, poor things, why did we give you to King Peleus, who is immortal, while you are yourselves ageless and immortal? Whence is it that you might share the sorrows that befall mankind? For of all creatures that live and move upon the earth, there is none so pitiable as he is. Still, Hector, son of Priam, shall drive you neither nor your chariots. I will not have it. It is enough that he should have the armor over which he passed so vainly. Furthermore, I will give you strength of heart and men to bear Automedon safely to his ships from battle. For I shall let the Trojans shine till further and go on killing until they reach the ships, whereon night shall fall, and darkness overshadow the land. As he spoke, he breathed heart and strength into the horses, so they shook the dust from out of their manes, and bore their chariots swiftly into the fight. And rage between Trojans and Phrygians behind them fought Automedon, full of sorrow for his comrade as a vulture amid a flock of geese, in and out, and here and there, all of speed he dashed amid the throng of the Trojans, but for all the fury of his pursuit he killed no man, for he could not wield his spear and keep his horses in hand when alone in his chariot. At last, however, a comrade, Alcmedon, son of Laerces, son of Aemon, caught sight of him and came up behind the chariot. Alcmedon, said he, what God has put this folly into your heart and robbed you of your right mind, that you fight the Trojans in the front rank single-handed. He who was your comrade is slain, and Hector blows himself on being armed in the armor of the descendant of Atlas. Alcmedon, son of Diores, answered, Alcmedon, there is no one else who can control in that immortal steeds so well as you can, save only Patroclus while he was alive. Here of gods and councils, take them the whip and reins, while I go down from the car and fight. Alcmedon sprang up to the chariot and caught up the whip and the reins off Alcmedon, leaped off from the car. When Hector saw him, he said to Aeneas, who was near him, Aeneas, counselor of the nail-clad Trojans, I see the steeds of the fleets of Atlas come into the battle with weak hands to drive them. I am sure if you think well that we might take them, they will not dare face us if we both attack them. The valiant son of Anchises was the same mind. The pair went right on with their shoulders covered and their shields of tough outside, overlaid with much bronze. Chromius and Archus went also with them, and their hearts beat high with hope that they might kill the men and capture the horses, fools if they were, but they were not to return stateless from a meeting with Automedon, who prayed to Father Zeus, and with forthwith filled with courage and strength abounding, he turned to his trusty comrade, Alcmedon, and said, Alcmedon, keep your horses so close up that I may feel their breath upon my back. I know that we shall not stay ahead of your son of Priam. So he has killed us and mounted behind the horses. He will then either straight hand among the ranks of the Phrygians, or himself be killed among the foremost. On the cry, after the two Ajaxes and Menelaus, Ajaxes, captains of our gods, and Menelaus, give the dead power body over to them that are less able to defend it, and come to the rescue of us living, for Hector and Aeneas, who are the two best men among the Trojans, and pressing us on in the whole tide of war. Nevertheless, the issues lie on the lap of heaven. I will therefore hurl my spear, and lay the rest to Zeus. It poised and hurled as he spoke, whereon the spear struck the ground shoe of Arcturus, and went right through it, for the shield that stayed it not, so that it was driven through his belt into the lower part of his belly, as when some sturdy youth axe in hand deals his blow behind the horns of a fox, and severs the tendons at the back of his neck, so that it springs forward and then drops. Even so did Arcturus get one down and then fall off his back, the spear quivering in his body till it made an end of him. Hector then aimed the spear at Automedon, but he saw it coming and stooped forward to avoid it, so that it flew past him and both stuck in the ground, while the butt end went on quivering till Ares robbed it of its force. They would then have fought hand to hand what swords had not the two Ajaxes forced their way through the crowd when they heard the comrades calling and darted them for all their fury, for Hector, Aeneas, and Chromius, who were afraid of the true bad leading Arcturus, the lie there struck in the heart. Automedon feared to have fleeced Ares, and then stripped him of his armor, vaunted over him, saying, I have done little to assuage my sorrow for son of Meorcus, for the man I have killed is not so good as he was. As he spoke, he took the blood-stained spoils and laid them upon his chariot. Then he mounted the car with the hands, and beat all speaking gore, as a lion that has been gorging upon the wall. And now the fierce groaning fight again arranged about Patroclus, for Athena came down from heaven and aroused his fury by the command of Arcene Zeus, who changed his mind and sent her and to the nuns, as when Zeus vents his right bow in heaven until even mankind either or the chill storms that the same men from their labor and plagued flocks. Even so, wrapped in such radiant raiment, did Athena go in among the hosts and speak man by man to each. First that she could the form voice of the Phoenix, and spoke of Menelaus, son of Atreus, who was standing near her. Menelaus said she will be shamed and dishonor to you with dogs, and noble comrade of Achilles under the walls of Troy. Therefore be staunch and virtue man to be stood also. Menelaus answered, Phoenix, my good old friend Athena, thou save me strength, and keep the darts from off me, for so shall I stand by Patroclus and defend him. His head has gone to my heart, and Hector is a raging fire, and yields his blows without ceasing, for Zeus is now granting him a time of triumph. Athena was pleased at his having made herself before any of the other gods, therefore she put strength into his knees and shoulders, and made him as bold as a fly, which, though driven off, will yet come again and bite if it can. So he rose as if of man's blood, even so bold as this did she fit him, as he stood over Patroclus, and through his spear, now there was among the Trojans a man named Oeneus, son of Eetion, who was both rich and valiant. Hector held him in high honor, for he was his comrade and boon companion. The spear of Menelaus struck this man in the girdle, just as he had turned in flight, and went right through him. Whereon he fell heavily forward, and Menelaus, son of Atreus, drew off his body from the Trojans into the ranks of his own people. Apollo then went to Hector and spurred him on to fight in the likeness of Aeneas, son of Asius, who lived in Abydos, and was the most favored of all Hector's guests. In his likeness, Apollo said, Hector, who of the Trojans will carry you henceforward now that you have quailed before Menelaus? Who has ever been raised poorly as a soldier, if he has now got a force away from the Trojans, single-handed, and has slain your own true comrade, a man great among the foremost moves, son of Pythion, a dark cloud of grief fell upon Hector as he hurried, and he made his way to the front clad in full armor. Thereon the son of Cronus seized his right castle Aegis, and veiled it up in cloud. He sent forth the lightning and his thunders as he shook his Aegis, and gave victory to the Trojans, and routed the Pythians. The panic was begun by Peneleos and Philoctean, for while keeping his face turned ever towards the foe, he had been hit with a spear on the upper part of the shoulder. A spear thrown by Polydamas had grazed the top of the bone, for Polydamas had come up to him and struck him from a close hand. Then Hector in close combat struck Leotus, son of noble Alcatrion, in the hand by the wrist, and disabled him from fighting further. They looked at him in dismay, knowing that never again should he wield spear in battle with the Trojans. While Hector was in pursuit of Leotus, Idomeneus struck him on the breastplate over his chest near the nipple, but the spear broke in shaft, and the Trojans cheered aloud. Hector then aimed at Idomeneus, son of Dicleon, as he was standing on his chariot, and very narrowly missed him. But the spear hit Corianus, a follower and charioteer from Maronus, who had come with him from Laetus. Idomeneus had left the ships on foot, would have afforded a great triumph to the Trojans, but Corianus had not driven quickly up to him, but therefore brought life and rescue to Idomeneus, whom by himself fell by the hand and murderous Hector. For Hector hit him on the jaw under the ear, the end of the spear drove out his teeth, and cut his tongue in two pieces, so that he fell from his chariot, and let the reins fall to the ground. Corianus gathered him up from the ground and took him into his own hands, and then said to Idomeneus, "Lay on until you get back to the ships, for you must see that the days no longer ours." On that of this, Idomeneus lashed the horses to the ships, for fear had taken hold upon him. Ajax and Menelaus noted how Zeus had turned the scale in favor of the Trojans, and Ajax was first to speak. "Alas," said he, "even a fool may see that Father Zeus is helping the Trojans hold their weapons to strike home, no matter whether it be a brave man or a coward that hurls them. Zeus sees all alike, whereas ours fall each one of them without effect. What then will be best, both as regards rescuing the body and our return to the joy of our friends, who will be grieving as they look hitherwards, for they will make sure that nothing can now shake the terrible hands of Hector, that he will fling himself upon our ships. I wish that someone would go and tell the sons of Peleus at once, for I do not think he can have yet heard sad news that Zeus of his friends has fallen. But I can now see not a man among the Pythians to send, who would make their charities our life in darkness, O Father Zeus. With this cloud from over the sons of the Pythians, with heaven serene, and let us see that we will only perish. Let us fall at any rate by daylight." Father Zeus heard him, and his compassion upon his tears forthwith he chased away the cloud of darkness, so the sun shone out, and all the fighting was revealed. Ajax then said to Menelaus, "Look, Menelaus, and if Antilochus, son of Nestor, be still living, send him at once to tell Achilles that by 5 years to him all his comrades has fallen." Menelaus heeded his words and went his way as a lion from a stockyard. The lion is tired of attacking the men and hounds who keep watch all night. Through and will not let him feast on the fat of their herd, and his lust of meat he makes straight at them at noonday, for darts from strong hands assail him, and burning brands which numbs him for all his hunger. So in the morning he slinks sulkily away, even so did Menelaus sorely against his will, Atlas and great fear lest the Pythians should be driven back in wrath and let him fall into the hands of the foe. He charged Meronius, and the two Ajaxes, greatly sent Ajaxes and Meronius, leading leaders of the Argives. Now indeed remember how good Patroclus was. He was ever courteous while alive. There is in mind now that he is dead. With this, Menelaus left them, looking round him as keenly as an eagle, whose sight they say is keener than that of any other bird, however high he may be in the heavens. Not a hair that runs and escape him, and crouching under butcher feet, for people swoop down upon it, and make an end of it. Even so, Menelaus did keen eyes range around the mighty host of your followers, to see if you could find the son of Nestor still alive. Presently Menelaus saw him on extreme left, put the battle, cheering on his men, exhorting them to fight boldly. Menelaus went up to him and said, "Antilochus, come here and listen to sad news, which I would indeed were untrue. You must see with your own eyes that heaven is heaping up calamity upon the Danaans, and giving victory to the Trojans. Patroclus has fallen, who was the bravest of the Pythians, and sorely will the Danaans miss him. Run instantly to the ships and tell Achilles that he may come to rescue the body and bear it to the ships. As for the armor, Hector already has it." Antilochus was struck with horror. For a long time he was speechless, his eyes filled with tears, and he could find no utterance. But he did as Menelaus had said, and set off running, as soon as he had given his armor to a comrade, Laodocus, who was wheeling his horses round close beside him. Thus then did he run weeping from the field to carry the bad news of Achilles, son of Peleus. Nor were you, O Menelaus, minded to succor his harassed comrades when Antilochus had left the Pylians, and greatly did they miss him. But he sent the noble Thrasymedes, and himself went back to Patroclus. He came running up to the two Ajaxes, and said, "I have sent Antilochus to the ships to tell Achilles, but rage against Hector as he may. He cannot come, for he cannot fight without armor. What then will be our best plan, both as regards rescuing the dead and our own escape from death amid the battle cries of the Trojans?" Ajax answered Menelaus, "You have said well. Do your men and Meronius scoop down, raise the body, and better it out of the fray, while we two behind you keep off Hector and the Trojans, one in heart as in name, and one used to fighting side by side with one another." On this, Menelaus and Meronius took the dead man in their arms and lifted him high aloft with a great effort. The Trojan host raised a hue and cried behind them when they saw the Pythians bearing the body away, and flew after them like hounds attacking a wounded boar at the loop of a band of young huntsmen. For a while the hounds fly at them as though they would tear them in pieces, and now again he turns on them, in a fury staring and scattering them. However, even so the Trojans for a while charged in the body, striking with a sword and with spears, pointed at both the ends. But when the two Ajaxes faced them and stood at bay, they would turn pale, and no man dared press on to fight further about the dead. In this wise the two heroes strained every nerve to bear the bodies of the ships out of the fight. The battle raged round them like fierce flames, that when once kindled spread like wildfire over the city, and the houses fall in the glare of its burning. Even so such was the roar and tramp of men and horses that pursued them as they bore Patroclus from the field, or as mules that put forth all their strength that draw some beam, or great piece of ship's timber down a rough mountain track, and they pant and sweat as they go. Even so, the Melas and Rhodes pant and sweat as they bore the body of Patroclus behind them. The two Ajaxes held stoutly as some wooded mountain spur that stretches across the plain will turn water and check the flow, even as a great river, nor is there any stream strong enough to break through it. Even so, the two Ajaxes faced the Trojans and stemmed the tide of their fighting, but though they kept pouring on towards them, and foremost among them all was Aeneas son of Anchises, with the valence Hector, as a flock of daws, or starlings, all screaming and chattering when they see a falcon, foe to all small birds, come soaring near them. Even so, the Phrygian youth raise a babble of cries as they fled before Aeneas and Hector, unmindful of their former prowess, and their outwitted odds, much goodly armor fell round about the trench, and of fighting there was no end.